So think of a word.
All I'm trying to do is think of a better word than you. So
I got the limes.
that's what you'd like?
I got
It's
the
not,
crabs.
It's not one word. Limes.
Limes.
You're terrible at this.
I am. Pulp Kutcher.
What's the name of that restaurant we went to?
Gyugaku.
What is it?
G-Y-U.
Right.
Gyukaku.
Gyukaku.
Bless
There you
you.
go.
That's mine. Gyukaku.
Bless you.
How was dinner with drivers? Gyukaku.
You want to set it up, Sean?
No, yes.
You say something.
Good.
You say something.
All right, fine. All right. Rutledge Wood, Tanner Foust. If you could describe this pizza dinner in one word, what would it be?
Gyukaku.
Gesundheit.
Hinta bintuwa. Don't worry.
Zinza Binua.
I also speak Cantonese.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
All right, welcome to Dinner with Racers. I am Sean Heckman.
I'm Ryan Eversley.
And if you don't know who we are, fine.
Don't worry about it.
So anyway, we are coming to you from somewhere between Florida and Atlanta as we head home here on October 31st, 2015. We have been traveling around the country in what car, Ryan?
My Acura MDX.
What tires?
We are on Continental Tires.
Lovely. And anyway, so we met up with a handful of people in racing that we thought were interesting, drove around the country to meet up with them, and we took them all to dinner. So no agenda. We didn't have a structure. A lot of them we didn't even know. But it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Wrong.
So
Wrong.
how many miles?
8,000 miles.
Nice. How many states?
20, which is 19 too many.
And it took us about 30 days to do this, to have 27 meals, all so that you, the listener, could turn around and tell us everything that we did wrong. So, next up, Rutledge Wood and Tanner Foust, hosts of American Top Gear on History.
And Rutledge also being an Atlanta guy, I've known him for a couple of years. We have a really cool backstory on how we know each other, which is included. And Tanner brought us cocktails.
So we're skipping around a little bit. Rutledge we actually met up with in Southern California, in a city just north of Los Angeles. And Rutledge we'd kind of been playing phone tag with for a few days because he didn't know what his schedule was going to be because they're shooting Top Gear right now, and so every day was kind of a moving target. But right as we're about to leave, Ryan gets a phone call.
Yeah, Rutledge and I are buddies, and he was doing us a huge favor by giving us some time while they're shooting. And because he's on set, he goes, hey, can Tanner Foust come with me?
And now this is Tanner Foust, who's known for drifting, recently moved to the X Games, is driving in GRC, factory Volkswagen driver at Andretti Autosport, in addition to hosting Top Gear.
And of course we were like, well, I guess.
Amen.
Sure, fine.
Anyway, so turns out to have been one of the best times we could have had. These guys were awesome to hang out with. We cover a ton of subjects. We get into how they met. It's amazing. If there's one thing you should Google and know about before you listen to this, it is the celebrity Dom DeLuise.
Very important to the interview.
Dom DeLuise.
Google search.
We learn about how Ryan first met Rutledge years ago.
And isn't this when a rat ran by us
Yeah.
at
Yep.
the hotel?
So we met up at a hotel that we're not going to give out for their sake. But we brought over some pizza, never ate it, and I had a chicken sandwich. And Tanner brought us cocktails.
Tanner did, and he was very proud of bringing us limes.
Yeah. So on we go. So thanks to Continental Tires for making this possible.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
You're the best. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, that's proper to do that.
You're so sweet. Yeah, I'm telling you. Where do we go? Is this Crown? Bullet? Where'd you go?
They didn't have bullet. They didn't have crowns. It's makers.
Oh, great. Even better. Hey, thanks, biatch. We cooked things on our table at dinner. Sean, can you toast with the Snapple?
I know. I got no problems if you don't.
Hey, here's to fun times with friends, making new friends. Pasadena style.
There we go.
Pasadena, where you
Recording it
at?
all. That's how you-
All right, put the headsets on.
Okay, great. Let's make some magic. I'm sorry, you guys.
He's good at drinking and talking without being vulgar. I am not, so.
No, there's.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I guarantee there's been worse already.
Some Sennheisers. I know that's what a lot of our.
Yeah, when people look at me, they think that guy's professional.
All right, let's break.
There we go. Yeah.
Should I be hearing stuff in both ears?
No.
I wouldn't know.
We're not that professional yet.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Am I in your head now? This is what it's like in rally racing. It's just you hear every breath.
I did a ride and drive once with Ariel Adams.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have because it was like the scariest thing I've ever done.
In an aerial?
In the passenger seat.
Oh shit!
It was with the official school that did it out in Texas at Crescent Motorsports Ranch, which is like no walls but nothing to really stop you from just going off for miles. And we get there, and it was totally sold to us that, like, you know, you're going to be driving a lead follow car all day. And then we get there, and they're like, yeah, just hop in the passenger seat, and you're going to get like $200. And you're like,
Sold to you. That's when the ride and drives are good, when they have to pitch the job to the
Right.
people that are getting paid. How do I turn it down just a little bit?
Oh, yours is too loud.
Are you too loud?
It's my own voice is just really loud in my ears. Little lower.
How am
little
I?
lower, little
Do I
lower.
sound okay?
That's
sound
good.
great.
Good.
You good?
Thank
I feel like I always have to shout.
no, you won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have fancy headphones.
My first ride and drive was like that.
Yeah.
Was for the Viper. It was Viper Challenge Day or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's the Viper Racing Series that was at Gateway International Raceway. It's like St. Louis.
Yeah.
The next weekend. So this was the Viper Invitational, where everybody's supposed to bring their street cars out. You get a Skip Barber guy in there with some khaki shorts.
Right.
And
the radio.
a white polo. All right. And they climb into the car, and then you do some laps around in the passenger seat and do hand signals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because there was the race the next weekend, all the racers came out for the free test day, basically.
Yeah.
Guys with 1,300 horsepower drag racing cars would show up, and they're in seats. They've got full suits on, and you, like, burn yourself on this exposed exhaust pipe climbing in, and then you're like, okay, go, and they get on the straightaway in these soft sidewall tires.
I'm enjoying your story.
And the anyway, it was treacherous. We had one instructor go in the wall hard enough that it rode off the sixth Viper ever made,
Good.
and Skippy actually had to go buy him a new one because the instructor was driving.
Oh.
A 15-year-old kid was driving the 15-year-olds around as a passenger.
We almost had that happen the other day.
Yeah.
With a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Will that be
Minus
on
the crash
season
and
3,
the
or-
actual car being there and the actual kid being there, but it was close.
Sometimes to get the cars we get on Top Gear, you have to go through some kind of interesting hoops. If there's not like a press car, and someone with a very nice high-end car said like, oh yeah, you can totally do it. I just need you to do like a webisode featuring my 12-year-old
Right.
on a racetrack
Right.
in this $200,000 car. And sometimes you hear things, and the moment it comes out, you think, this is a terrible idea. We should not be a part of this. And
Right.
so you're like, no, but we need the car, right? So we go, okay, how can we do this? We start thinking about it, and then every 5 minutes, you're like, a 12-year-old. A 12-year-old in a $200,000 supercar. This doesn't seem like a good idea. And so then you're like, all right.
Or
We'll
an
call
amazing idea.
We'll call the track and tell them to tell us no.
Yeah, we can't do it.
When
Yeah.
we ask this question.
Right.
That didn't work.
That didn't work.
No, it was still going to happen.
Then we're like, the insurance will shoot this down.
Nope.
For once, insurance is like, oh, that's fine.
We don't care.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then finally, we're like, guys, seriously, none of us are going to do it. The three of us won't do it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. We actually have the same car from another guy, just without the kid. And you're like,
Why didn't we?
It's, you know what, it's tough because you see both sides of that, right? If you were the dad and there was somebody knocking on your door and you're a business guy and, okay, you know, they want something you have, and then you have the opportunity to set your kid up with a something that may help, you know, in his dream,
Right.
you get it. But on the other hand, you just don't want to be that
Like, he's
guy
12.
wadding the
Yeah.
Viper up into the wall with the you know, the
do
kid
you
in
ever
the
do like
passenger
a? Do you ever do like a fancy intro for this? Are you gonna make like
when we
this
finish it?
I
we'll
think-
know.
Hey,
I think
this
I
is our
just-
Ryan
show.
and Sean.
I just walked up with a tray of drinks. What do you want?
And then we
Yeah.
hit go. We hit the button.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't
That's
that
your
the intro?
favorite thing.
Oh, can I have some limes? No, that was the intro.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Ryan said we know who runs. We know
I
who's
was like,
the boss.
I guess it's your show.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I said I
I'm kind
paid
of need
for
some
dinner.
limes. Yeah.
Is this one of those things where because we're here, he's being really nice, but if we weren't, he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Where are the limes?
Yeah.
Give me a lime."
What kind of places? That's it. I'm
Yeah.
out of here.
He's like throwing glasses on the ground.
Fireplace isn't lit.
Total diva.
Just pulls
Yeah.
out a gun, starts shooting in the
Yeah.
air.
What are these
I can see
LED
that.
lights? Oh my god.
I like this. This lighting is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like. Did you ever see the show Parenthood?
No.
Oh gosh.
A show or?
Reason number one, you're single. You didn't watch Parenthood.
Wow, we're going there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you right now.
Welcome to my world.
Oh yeah, I give it this guy all the time.
Yeah, you know what I need is I need 6 kids. Is that how many you have?
I have 3.
It seems like
That-
6.
My truck is full. I can't have any more. We're gonna have to call it there. But they had some really nice overhead lighting like this. These old like classic
you
lights.
should have
the
this in your
braver ones.
backyard.
We do.
Enjoy-
Of
oh,
course
you
you
do.
do.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
got a few of them. You got to come over one day. I don't know why we're hanging out in California.
Because
where
we're
neither
never
of us
home.
live.
I was telling Sean this on the way here. I'm like, we see each other at the airport all the time.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, I'll see you again, and then it'll be in like Hot Rod Power Tour in Wisconsin or something.
Oh, that
random.
was so awesome.
Yeah, but it's
I'm-
just random stuff like that.
I'm already excited about the Power Tour next year.
Yeah, are you going to bring – because you didn't do much on it this year, did you?
I didn't make it this year. It was like the one
But didn't one of your
trip that I
cars show
could
up or
make
something?
with my kids. We were supposed to. On Lost in Transmission I did in our like off season.
Yeah.
I built my wife a 49 Chevy truck, the brown one with the white walls, and we were going to take that. And then I realized like this is the only family trip that I knew I could make. And Magnaflow didn't have their big rig out there. So it was like I was going to go do something for Magnaflow, but at someone else's spot. And they were like, why don't we just wait? I went, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Fine.
I'm going to
Good.
go. Instead, went to Chicago and saw what I would consider the worst parade I've ever seen.
Okay.
Lovely little town named Arcola. It's a town where the guy created the Raggedy Ann and Andy doll.
Oh, sure.
And
Familiar.
went to a, God bless him, 30 people maybe in total in the parade and maybe 40 spectators. And it was like really touted as a big deal.
Wow.
That was the kind of stuff that I got to see since I didn't go on the Power Tour.
Nice.
But the
because you
weird
guys
part
went on
is-
like a family vacation, right? I remember
Yes.
seeing the pictures.
And
yeah.
we passed the entire Power Tour on the day when it
That's
was
right.
all that
That's
rain.
right. I saw you tweet about that.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
the worst,
yeah.
man. Watching these old dudes in like a 32 Ford with maybe some Rain-X
Right.
and a heavy prayer.
Right.
That was brutal.
Did Emily Williams ever reach out to you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to see her in Texas in a few
Oh,
weeks.
awesome.
She sure seems delightful.
She's kick-ass. Yeah, absolutely.
and she's in with the roadkill dudes. She likes them a lot.
Right, and what's fun, what made me think of that was she was telling me a story because I got paired up with her for a day, and we kind of just drove her car around.
Yeah.
And she was telling me how the day before, because there's so much camaraderie on that tour, as you've seen, where like if a car breaks down, there's like 12 more people pull over to help, no matter what it is. And so her boyfriend Aaron like has to take a leak, and they're in the middle of nowhere, so he pulls over to take a leak, and sure enough, like 6 cars pull over at the same time, like,
Yeah.
hey, need anything? And he's like, duh.
Yeah.
He's like trying to put it away.
I could use a hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. right.
If you shake it more than once, you're playing with it.
Yeah,
That's
you got
right.
any hand warmers?
Have you? That's what that's what I wanted you to take your old Scion drift car if we ever find it. Tanner has a TRD truck motor powered Scion TC that Papadakis Racing converted rear wheel drive. It was his drift car.
Right.
If you ever saw that Mulholland Drive, I'm going to brag on you. If you weren't sure, that's what this
You're
is.
bragging on the car, but that's okay. It's
Well, I didn't drive it.
the car is awesome.
The car is
It
awesome.
is such a badass car.
You've
It's
got
insane.
You have a XB?
I have an XV that Steph also built, just
Okay,
like
yeah, yeah.
Tanner's car, and mine has a 2JZ Super Swap.
Right.
Converted rear wheel drive that my friend Johan built, and Yo used to take it on what's that, Gumball and
Yeah, he
stuff?
took it on Gumball.
Gumball and did
Yeah.
Bull Run, I think.
Yeah, it was
And
either,
I think he
it was
basically
Gumball, yeah.
got as close to losing his license forever as he could,
Right.
and then parked it. And a year later, we used it on Top Gear. Tanner found out that I picked it, and he was like, "I'll take that. Thank
Right,
you."
right.
So instead, they're like, "Yeah." So Tanner decided to take that car that you lined up. We'll wrap it like a taxi, and he obviously did it much better justice than I ever
Sure.
could. And I ended up with an El Camino that I bought. It was a huge piece of crap.
How many of the cars
Can't
off the
believe
show have you bought?
Oh,
Way too
don't
many.
ask that question. Are you kidding me? His wife listens to the show. She doesn't know about half of them, I think.
Oh my god! Well, now that like they're all in one location,
Yeah,
I had to rent an
bad.
airplane hangar to put them all in.
Man,
but they're
tough.
not worth the airplane
Right,
hangar.
right.
Like people think, oh, I saw you on TV, you must be rolling it. You're like, no, dude, I bought a $400 car and I'm keeping it in a $700 building. Like it doesn't make any sense what I've done. And now, like one day you just wake up and you realize, like, okay, so the insurance company, they take my call. I could call them 24 hours a day and this chick will wake up.
Yeah.
Right, and her name's on the building, and it's because I have, I think, 15 cars insured,
Right.
2 motorcycles, 2 scooters that I got from my like all this different stuff, and I realized like I have a problem.
Yes, that's correct.
On paper, something's wrong with me. Now, enjoyment level, great.
It's one
life's
thing.
good.
I mean, the number. Okay, so you have 15 cars insured. It's what they are is what
Yeah,
the
it's
problem
a
is.
Volkswagen Jetta
Crap
truck.
boxes,
With
yeah,
2
right?
engines, one on each side, and then it's a school bus with a snowplow and a flame shooter.
Yeah.
Well, I did the legal department made me take the flamethrower off.
Oh, really?
Okay.
But the school bus is great.
Well, that just sucks then.
I know, right? Totally not the same. Your BMW from Texas.
Yeah.
It was an E30,
Mhm.
jacked up on a Toyota 4x4
That's
frame.
right.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
traded that for a 1972 Toyota Hilux pickup.
Nice.
Oh, you know what? I know you need a truck. You might love it.
Let's see it.
It is like the king of patina
This is how
because
it
it
works.
is rusting away.
This guy, we email back and forth at like 1:30 in the morning, like Craigslist links and like
That's how he
old
knows you're
C10
single.
trucks.
He
Yeah.
loves my 61. So my
Yeah.
61 pickup, I also got that from my friend Yo. Yo's the one that started Rogue Status and DTA,
Oh, okay.
and that's how I first heard about him. How rad is that little
awesome.
thing, right? It's got some sort of old ladder rack on the very top.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It would be a step ladder, I think. But
I think so. Yeah.
so yeah, Yo built that truck also, and I saw it. I knew about him way before I ever met him, and then my friends in Atlanta at S3 Magazine introduced us at SEMA probably 5 years ago, 6 years
Sure.
ago. And he's just one of those dudes that's just like the most chill, like happy people in the world.
That is.
And
an
so I just started being
amazing
like,
looking
hey, anytime you want to get rid of stuff, you tell
Let me know. Right.
And that thing, boy, that truck, he sold it to a friend who the hood, so the truck was in S3 years ago. That's the first time I saw it. It was flat black, but the hood was painted like a giraffe, how they have those kind of big, like, spots.
Right.
And it was black and silver and glossy. It was really nicely done. That was the only thing painted on the truck. So it made no sense and total sense at the same time. And it was airbagged. It's on a Ride Tech. And he sold it to his friend who the hood came up while he was driving on like the 405. So it smashed the roof, windshield, everything else. And then his friend just parked it somewhere. But it was still in Yo's name. So one day he gets this letter like, by the way, you owe us $1 bajillion. And your car's been impounded, all this stuff. And he's like, I haven't seen that thing in a year. And he went down, picked it up, put a new hood, just placed it on there. And that's how we ratchet strapped it on. And our buddy Victor from
Oh, yeah.
Emergency Hookers, best towing name ever. You've seen his truck at Long Beach. He's hidden right over by that big right-hander with the rumble strips that are so huge. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
says, Emergency Hookers, you blow it, we tow it.
Right.
Which is pretty solid for a tow truck company.
That's marketing.
Victor's
That guy,
classic.
Victor loves me and can't stand me at the same time because they're always like, hey, I need you to go get this car. You can only get it for about 15 minutes in the afternoon. It doesn't run, and it's going to be impossible to move.
Yeah.
So there
Thanks.
you go.
Yeah.
So that's
figured out.
that rusty Hilux. That's
That's
what
right up
my
your alley,
garage
of
is.
course.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's like got you written all over.
Throw
it.
some seat covers in there. It needs a vintage set of like Japanese wheels.
Of course it does.
You'd be just killing it
You're
on
gonna
the
put some
streets.
like lattice style BBSs on it or something. Yeah, exactly.
Some old
Yeah.
Inkies or
Yeah.
Inkai, I think is the correct
Are you going to
pronunciation.
take the ones off of a car that I'm working on the show?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
my
see-
problem is
see,
I like
that's how it
cars so
is.
much I can't stop. And that's like you'll see. I'll keep sending you
Holy
links for trucks.
Is that a rat?
Did anyone see that?
I
Yeah.
saw that.
There's a rat that just ran into the
Look at-
fireplace.
Well, look, what kind of fancy place are they putting us here, Tanner?
Well, I mean, I got the lime, so I don't know what else you want. So,
You were supposed to get the rat a drink. Yeah. Wow.
Apparently,
I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah, we have pizza.
apparently so. We're building one of the shows that we're working on, and it'll come out. So we started shooting Top Gear again like 3 weeks ago, and people thought we were canceled because Adam got hurt and couldn't drive for like 8 months. So I started shooting the other show, and people like the internet sucks, as you know.
How did he get hurt? Like show related or?
So he got hurt at a show, not on the show.
Okay.
Tanner and I were both we were driving new trucks, and we were both on the phone, And all of a sudden, we realized that Adam is missing. And Tanner's like, hey, did you see where Adam went? I was like, no, but his car's gone. We start looking around, and everyone's just standing there. So finally, we're like, hey, guys, where's Adam at? Oh, he's on his way to the hospital. We think he broke his collarbone. And we're like, what? So I guess we're done here.
So that's the day.
I'll change my flight. Went home, came back a few weeks later. And I will say this. We've never said what happened.
Right.
He says it in the show. He says about 6 different things that it could be, and it's one of them.
Okay.
But it's the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. And it should
the
never have
byproduct
happened.
is we had, Gilbert. It was Lance Gilbert, who's a famous stunt coordinator. His dad, who did Blues Brothers. He stunt coordinated Blues Brothers. He did Butch Cassidy.
Oh, wow.
Super legend
Yeah.
in the stunt world. Actually, right around here in Santa Clarita, this is like Stunt Valley,
Okay.
right here where all the stuntmen live. And so he came in one of the shows and was the
Oh,
old
that's
guy
right.
driving for Adam. So the thing was, Adam got hurt and he couldn't do the driving, so we got the stunt guy to do it. And he'd been coordinating for 50 years. He hadn't really.
He
been
was
doing
in like
stunt
Butch
driving.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Riding a horse off the.
Yes,
Oh,
he'd
nice.
done so.
Dude, it's
The guy was a
amazing.
legend, really.
He was 1,000 years old.
Adam had to strap himself in with this. You remember, just once he got a hold of the Corvette. Remember
What they call it? What was his name? The stunt guy.
his last name was Gilbert.
I'm trying to remember because Adam's just shouting his name with his thick New York accent the whole time.
Oh my gosh!
And he wrecked that vet
He
5
did.
minutes in.
Oh yeah,
Wheel tires completely off the rim.
only half as much as Adam would have.
Right, I was gonna say it
Yeah.
actually wasn't any worse than it. Well,
Sure.
Adam, you just give him enough time, he can kill anything. But it was
But we had that
God, it
guy
was
on
amazing.
so there were a couple shows where Adam
Right.
mysteriously just couldn't drive because he had a bone poking
dude,
out.
it was the gnarliest
Right.
looking thing. Like it just all of a sudden just burp, here's this.
That's
so he
gotta
had to
make it in, yeah.
he had to wait for the swelling to go down. Then try to figure out could he not do surgery, and so he tried all these different things, and they're like, nope, that's just your arm's just going to dangle around
Right,
forever.
right.
So he had to have his rotator cuff and something else fixed. So he couldn't drive for like 8 months.
Yeah.
And so since the internet knows everything, everyone's like, oh, it sucks your show got canceled.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, it's not canceled. We can't shoot. My man can't move his arm. So the other day, he's been driving since we started shooting.
Canceled.
It's super heavy intensive, as you can imagine. We basically shoot Top Gear sun up to sundown, and when you do it, and we're sitting there at the table, all of a sudden, his arm just goes like boom,
Right.
just sitting there. And
Spasms.
we're like, what was that?
like a
It's like,
nerve just pinches. A glass of water goes flying across the room.
And it happened one more time while we were sitting there finishing dinner, and then he's like, I got to go to bed. I got to lie down. He went, oh, man.
Got to go back in my bed and tie myself to the
Right.
mattress.
This is forever.
I'll be here, right? Bless his heart. So we've done some dumb stuff on the show, but what my man did was
That was it.
legendary
Nice.
for what it was. So he's great.
We had breakfast with Paul Fanner, who runs Racer Magazine as well as many other things.
Sure.
And one of Sean's favorite stories, I'll let you tell it, about Racer and the internet and how the internet works.
With the
Yeah.
the world's best article. So just to sort of put this in perspective, so Racer Magazine puts out an article in June,
Yeah,
July,
June, July, yeah.
announcing that the end-of-year IndyCar banquet is going to be in San Francisco. Pretty mundane, 4 paragraphs, really nothing else to tell. First forum post, it's just like, typical IndyCar. Dude, he's like, what the hell?
These guys are too big for their britches, San Francisco.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
Not just
what's
like,
wrong with
oh, maybe
you?
it's
It's
convenient.
a banquet
Yeah.
post.
Right.
It's literally not for you.
Yeah.
It's something they probably had to put out just for logistics.
You got to appreciate the passion on one level.
Yeah.
Like you need the interested parties, but it doesn't always have to be.
This
the
is why
bad
Tanner's
side.
popular with fans, by the way, because he's always going to take
He's
like,
like,
well,
"Well,
no, it's
yeah,
great.
look
Look
at
at
it,
it.
tell me about it."
Right
So
side.
he obviously was not real jazzed that they went crazy about it, but that was his he just didn't understand, right? Like, why would you go and crap on
Right.
a banquet in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, but that's always got to be a thing for you guys, though, because obviously just being anything with the label Top Gear has to be huge shoes to fill. And I'd imagine the internet hate, especially in season 1, had to be horrible.
Wow,
Oh, it's pretty big, yeah.
It was solid.
yeah.
I had no idea how many people could dislike me in an instant. But when they said, hey, here are the Top Gear hosts,
Sure.
2 years before, because I'm a smartass, I got invited to go to the banquet for NASCAR. And I fundamentally didn't want to wear a suit because I don't think I should have to dress up for a sport that half the people don't wear a shirt to, right?
You and Robin
I,
Miller.
I love it.
Well, would you settle for a tuxedo T-shirt?
I would have.
Because I would see you in that. Yeah.
Instead, I was instructed, no, you have to have a tux. So I rented
Tell me you went big.
Here
a
it goes.
pink tuxedo.
Attaboy.
Yep.
Attaboy.
And it
Yeah.
was about 6 sizes too big for me.
Yep.
It was gym clipped together in the back. And so I wore it there thinking, now this was back in the Speed Channel days, right? I wore it there thinking, like, here's your tux.
Yeah.
What now,
I got
jerk?
you.
Gonna throw
I
the
got you.
vibe out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people liked it. A handful didn't, which is why I wasn't
The right
invited
people.
back for several
the right
years.
people liked it. Yeah.
But the idiots that put out the announcement, hey, here's your Top Gear US lineup, used a picture of me in this pink tuxedo. And of course, like, the number one reaction is like, what the hell is the fat dude in the pink tuxedo doing? Right? Now, keep in mind, Clarkson, even still now, my man's as big as a house, right?
a big
Like,
guy.
I don't have a gut. He's got, like, a
He's a
basketball
big dude. Yeah.
tucked under his shirt. And I'm not
Right.
hating, but, like,
He's
they're-
happy.
He's fine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he's
I'm
good.
fine. I've had these man boobs all my life. They're going to stay with me. But when strangers come out of the woodwork
Yeah.
to just immediately tell you how much you suck, they haven't seen a single thing.
Right.
Like, we shot a bunch of stuff together before they ever said, hey, you guys are on the show,
Okay.
right? And Tanner was part of the original NBC pilot. And so when that didn't go and it went to history, I got a call because a race fan loaded something up on YouTube illegally that I had done on race day, right? A million years before with John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. Nice. And did you know this? And
Nope, I didn't know this.
He and I were riding a General Lee, and the whole time I just kept calling him Bo. I would never call
Of
him
course
John,
not. You got it,
right?
yeah.
Because he's Bo. And I was like, so Daisy she wasn't like your real cousin, right? He's like, no, that's an actress, Catherine Bach. He's like, no, but I mean, she's not like your first cousin.
Right. Right, Bo?
Right. Come on,
Yeah.
Bo. Just you can
Come on,
level
Bo.
with me. But y'all ever like go see a movie or go to dinner? And somehow Speed left it in, right? And probably 12 people saw it. Who knows?
Right.
But one of them loaded it up onto YouTube illegally. And then our original executive producer, guy named John Hessling, saw this. He was looking at basically everybody that had been on cars for TV in the U.S. for like the last 10 years. And he saw that and he thought, this kid might be funny. So I get a phone call one day thinking someone's trying to sell me something. I was like still in the phone book at the time. If you see that rat, tell me.
Seriously.
I got one shoe off here. And so the whole time, the entire process, I didn't have an agent, a manager, anything. I kept thinking, there's no way I'm going to get this show, so I'll remember everything I can so that when I tell my friends, like when we're watching the show, like, oh, this guy was cool, this
Right.
guy's a total douche, like whatever. And then somehow they called one day, they're like, hey, we need your lawyer's info in case we want to make you an offer. And I was like, yeah, I don't have that on me.
Let me get on that.
Let me call. Let
Yeah.
me just make a call. I called Kyle Petty in a panic. I was like, dude, I think I got the show. What do I
Right,
do? And he
right.
said, call this guy. Give him this guy's number. I'll call him right now. He'll take care of everything.
That's awesome.
So then when I got it, I was like, well, now I have to forget all of that stuff that I had like mentally cataloged, or I'm going to seem like the huge douche. Be like, this guy was all right. Tanner and I had shot a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure, I don't even know if he remembers. Like when Tanner showed up, I was like, holy shit, Tanner Foust. Like this is being a huge, like, I've always loved drifting, right? Because I was always into import cars. So like from your like Toyota Corolla GTS Hachiroku initial D days, like I was in.
Right.
So I remember the first time that like D1 was here and the Drift Alliance and everything, and this rad little dude named Tanner starts kicking everyone's ass. And so, because I knew like Steph when he was racing import drags and everything else.
Yep.
So when Tanner's there, I was like, oh, you guys, that's Tanner Foust. This is awesome. Hey, how you doing?
What's up, dude?
Hey, I'm
Play cool.
Rutledge.
Play
And he's
cool.
like,
You
what
were
is it?
you're very handsy. I remember that.
Just
So
like,
nothing
hey,
has
hey,
changed.
man.
Nothing has
I
changed.
just want to
then.
touch your face.
And like there was a couple other guys there, and I'm sure I was just super fanning out, right? And they were all like, well, this guy's not going to make it. This guy, it was fun to see you, buddy.
Let him have his moment.
And then they start asking me questions, and people are like, why does he know this stuff? Like, what a dork.
No one knows this
No
stuff.
one knows this stuff.
It's so you didn't know Messick
no,
before that.
I didn't know
Okay.
anybody.
Okay, because Messick was the other executive producer.
Scott Messick, great guy.
He was great, and he was really the one that kind of had the vision for the show not being like the British show,
Right.
Just kind of branching off a little bit. And he told me during the shooting, I was like, "Oh, how do you know Rutledge?" And he's like, "Oh, I know Rutledge. His dad has cooked for this some event or something like that, and he told me his name, and it was, it's him. That guy. Who was that from Cannonball Run?
Are you saying Dom DeLuise?
Yes,
Yeah.
he told me that Tom DeLuise was your
Dom,
dad.
with the
Dom.
D.
Sorry,
Dom.
yes. Anything after 97, I don't remember.
Foggy.
Yeah.
Foggy.
Just take
When
that
Tanner
and-
started driving, he stopped listening.
It's true. It's actually more like 92.
Tom DeLuise is your dad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dom,
Hugely disparaging right out the gate. Right? Like, oh, you dad, the
I mean,
morbidly obese chef. Yeah, it's
that's-
that guy's son.
that's
I was
dad,
like,
sure,
oh, okay. I can see it. In the beard. It was in the beard.
And-
Come
Yeah,
on.
I
saved.
believe
I
like
saved.
3 months in, you brought that up.
I did. And you were like, what the F are you talking about?
Why do you think I'm Dom?
And I was like, no,
DeLuise's kid?
seriously, like,
all
does
adds
your
up.
dad still live in L.A.? Or, like, what's the, does he still know Burt Reynolds? And you're like, what are you talking about? My dad's, like, lives in Georgia.
Yeah. It's just Bill.
He's
Just Bill.
Bill and Claudia at the house.
I believed him, and it did. It took a long time. I haven't told anybody that story, really. I don't
I'm
think.
glad.
Yeah.
I am glad. I can't
Well,
believe
like,
you really thought it was.
Tens of 20s of people will
Yeah.
hear this.
There's
Yes.
a few dozen
Yeah.
people. that
So
know that story.
when we were trying out, one of the things we did, they rented some parking lot at some sort of Japanese church in LA that has this huge parking lot. And
That's
we're out there.
You know what? And I've shot movies in that parking
Have
lot
you?
for years.
Hilarious.
That they make tons of money selling their parking lot.
It's just gigantic and flat, and there's no curbs, right? And there's maybe one light pole in the whole thing.
Yeah, it's right behind the Costco. It's like you go around the mall, and
Right.
then there's a little church and a giant parking lot.
Huge. There's got to be 1,000 parking spots for a church that would hold 12 people.
Yeah, yeah.
Proper.
It's like that. And I had stalked Guy Fieri at a race in Sonoma 2 years before or something, right? And he knew me from Speed.
And your dad.
And
being
we
Dom
and my
DeLuise.
dad being Dom DeLuise,
Yes.
obviously the cooking connection.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
We became buddies, and I was texting him and said, "Hey, I know you're not like a Southern California guy, but I'm gonna be in LA, and these days you're gonna be around." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing the Tonight Show." And so that day I was texting him like, "Oh, well, here's where we're gonna be." He said, "Yeah, I'm 2 minutes away doing Leno. I'll just come by." So here, like my, like total, like marketing guru, my hero, my mentor is like, I'm going to knock out the Today Show, and then I'll just drop by at the show you're auditioning.
Sure.
So here's this random kid again from Atlanta who snuck his way into NASCAR on TV, and they're like, hey, that's that dude from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Why is he here? I was like, oh, that's my friend. And we put him in a car, and Tanner's like flinging him around. At one point, Tanner's like, go sit on that couch, and then I'll do figure eights around you. And luckily, someone else brighter than me was like, that's a bad idea.
Think about this.
We should not kill you before the show starts. Let's
That
wait.
was a pretty good idea.
It was great. Guy loved it. But those are those moments that I sat there and looked at later and went, I think the only reason I got the show is I made John Schneider sound like a perv, and Guy Fieri showed up when I was trying out for the show. Like, this is fantastic.
Well, and Dom DeLuise is your
Yeah,
dad.
And my
you
dad.
had
Yeah, there's a
dad
throwback
connections.
there.
Yeah.
I think he's dead.
You're like
by
a
the way.
legacy.
Dom, not my dad. My dad's fine, but Dom, I think, is,
Yeah.
Hey, rest in peace.
I think it was his heart.
Was it a lovely funeral? I'm sure the services
It was
were.
really nice.
It was nice.
We had corn dogs.
Good. Cotton candy.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Was there any
It's
resentment? on that?
tough to.
Was there any resentment? Like, oh, of course, Dom DeLuise's kid is here. So, like, was there any of that?
Yeah,
no,
you earned
it was.
this.
It was like I kind of got it because he was super funny, and
Dom was.
Yes.
Right.
I was like, so no wonder. Okay, you grew up in that environment. That's why you're funny, and
Get
it's,
around cameras all the time.
It all sort of it made sense.
I wonder, what did you think? What did you think of me when we met? Did that even like register? Or you're just like, there's this guy.
Maybe you can cook well.
I
with the
thought that
squirrel
you're
in his
probably a
face.
pretty decent cook. And that, I mean, you had cooking friends showing up from the Tonight
Yes,
Show.
yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Basically,
He's like, if he
everything.
makes it, we're gonna eat well.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything the internet said about me, you thought the same thing.
Okay, so some of the first days, right, in that church parking lot, we had a Mitsubishi Evo. And we were sliding around out there. I do remember the first time you drove it, you had an arm arm holding the driver door out of the thing, and your arm went like
the ground, yeah.
pretty far down. There, you were hanging.
Felt like
on
I
the
was
door.
dragging my knuckles.
Right.
Yeah, it's like some turns it was here, some it was on the roof. So there was that. But
I think I still had my STI at the time,
yes, you
and
did.
I was real man. That was a fun time in my life.
I bet.
04 STI. you see why people love those cars so much. So when someone gives you an empty parking lot, like, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
eat
you
these
never get
tires
that.
up.
Yeah, you never get that.
Let her
too many.
rip. But it was just so. The craziest part of season 1 of Top Gear is that the videos, if you watch them, they're fantastic because it was. People said, "Oh, you don't have the camaraderie, this, that, and the other." No, neither did anyone else the first time they got put together. But what we were is you got to see, like, if we had come out of the gate and pretended like we had all known each other for years and we're so buddy, everybody would just eaten through it and it would have been fake. So instead, you got to see us learning about each other,
Right.
and there was more talk about the cars. And as time has progressed, you kind of see that we're like, this is exactly why this guy would pick this car, because he's an idiot or he's crazy or
Right.
whatever the different things are. But what we didn't know is that someone was trying to do the studio lengths at that point, very similar to Top Gear, where it's 3 guys standing, there's people around. If you ask anybody that went, it was a great time.
Okay. Sure.
It was fun. It was interactive. We tried all this different stuff.
You mean when you guys did it like the European style
Yes.
at El Toro?
Right.
And not many people know that Rut used to be I mean this in a nice way, a fluffer. But for crowds, right? You were a crowd fluffer for a while.
You're a warm-up
I
guy.
can't make that hand signal.
I was holding a microphone
It
to my
didn't
mouth.
look like that.
Okay. That was a microphone,
It's a
clearly.
really big microphone.
So you were an
Thank
audience warm-up guy.
Well, really, just for us, I ended up. That's what I did
No,
for Speed.
I thought you
When
did. Yeah, you
yeah.
did that for Speed,
Yeah,
right?
that was my Craigslist job starting.
Yeah.
Was to be the marketing guy for them. So yeah, it was great, right? We'd go out there, had fun with people, but when you watched the show, we looked asleep, and it was awful. Right. But we didn't know. We were sitting there watching it for the first time, going, "What just happened?
Yeah.
This part looks like crap."
Yeah,
Right.
it was. It's tricky because there's commercial breaks in the U.S. And so the rest of the show is already done, and there would be exactly 4.5 seconds for the bump out that's in studio.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just sit there and riff in the
Right.
studio and be yourself. It's like these are the exact words. You can only spend exactly
I'm at the
this
wrong
much
airport.
time. Yeah.
That's all the time you got.
Yeah, and so it was very scripted in the studio, where the rest of the show there is no script. So it was a tricky thing to try to pull off, and it was 15 takes sometimes of different things because it would be 0.2 of a second too long.
Right.
And you're trying to adjust the wording in
Oh, it was
between.
brutal.
And the
But
rest
it
of
was
the world
fun.
doesn't really have BBC doesn't really have commercial breaks.
Right.
And so
16 minutes more to make the same show. Because with commercials, at the time we were 44 minutes. Now I think it's 43.
why is that?
TV they just keep taking.
Wow.
They just keep getting. But when you watch season 2 and season 3, when we started moving the studio inside and out, making it more interactive, if you talk to people that were there, that was really fun. Because for us, it was the only time we really get to connect with that audience. Because we can't, some of the stuff we do, you can't have people around. Because it's just not, it's not safe for us.
Right.
We don't want to put strangers
Where would you put 'em?
in
Right.
harm's way. And I think the biggest thing I think our show over the years, what it's lacked to me is the time. We just didn't have, one summer we didn't have time to do the Stig laps. And it was we were doing like, because I think the most they can ever order is like 16. So sometimes we would do 8 and 8. Sometimes we do 10 and 6, that kind of thing. And so one summer run, they need us to do 6 shows for history to help intro another show. And we didn't have enough time to do the studios, what it basically came down to. And El Toro, I'm not saying the people that run it smoke crack, but I think they're high because what they think that place is worth.
Oh yeah. No.
Overnight.
I work out there all the
Yeah,
time.
it's
and it's
ludicrous.
ridiculous.
I don't know how you can sleep at night doing that, but that's really neither here nor there. And so it's one of those things where they said, all right, we're going to try to do it without it, and we're going to see what happens. If it doesn't work, we'll go back, we'll do more, but we just have to deliver these fast. And so what they found was we got another like 6 or 7 minutes overall, maybe more, to tell a story. And our show and the UK show, the number one time that people would change the channel was anytime they would go to the studio. Right? That was your most likely time that people would change channels. And so they found that people would stay longer. So all of a sudden it's like basically out of our hands that the studio is gone. But the genius of the Stig laps is always that you see the same driver in the same course in different cars. And that was the thing that I think I always loved the most about the UK show and about our show, was that you could see, how does it truly compare on the same thing. And that's what's fun too about putting, celebrities out there in this car and watching. Like Adam Levine was so mad because he got maybe one less practice lap than other people.
Sure.
Because he had to go and do like Larry King Live or something. And he was a charming guy, I really like his music. He was such a pouty bitch about it. Just couldn't. This is messed up.
Yeah, my cart's not
Right?
fast enough.
And even at the time, this was way before The Voice. Obviously, Maroon 5 was already selling a bajillion records, but he showed up. Remember, he had a V12 Aston.
Yes. I do
And
remember.
and my man looked like, of course, at the time, it's still dressed in that same way. He looked like he should be on the cover of any, like, magazine.
Right.
He didn't look like a dude that should drive an Aston because he had no idea what he was doing.
Sure.
And so even that time in that little Suzuki or whatever we had, he loved it. And when you can see people light up that much for giving him this seemingly
Rental car.
underpowered, it's
Yeah.
a rental car
Yeah.
with a roll cage.
You're right.
That was just so much fun to do, and we got to. That was cool because like we did, I think 2 different times. Make-A-Wish came out, and
cool.
Tanner's taking him. John Hennessy was there one day with his personal CTSV wagon. And he basically just looked at Tanner and was like, yeah, you just do
Burn it
whatever you
down.
want. Yeah,
Yeah.
burn it down. And he took that Make-A-Wish kid out there and just tire tracks everywhere. It was so much fun. If you're wondering, I have no idea who the Stig is. I've still never met them.
I think I have.
Have you? You might have.
Today?
No.
No,
Was it me?
I thought so.
I don't think it was
Well,
me.
you're my stick.
Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm Stig's fat American cousin.
That's
Man
a
Move
new
Stig.
bumper sticker. I haven't seen that one yet.
I'm
You're my
fairly
Stig.
certain
You're my stick.
Tanner knows, but
Yeah.
he's really good at keeping a secret. But one day, me and Adam were really mad, and we're like, we're grown-ass men. We should know. And they said, all right, you can meet him. You know what? I don't want to know.
Yeah,
Now that
I'm
I
good.
can,
I'm good.
that's fine. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure
I
we're
just
all on the same
I
page.
just want to whine about it a little bit.
Yeah, I want to have the option.
Yeah.
I want to have the option. But yeah, I like that spending time with somebody like Tanner and you and Andy Lally, and I realize so many. And I'm like a make believe race car driver, right, from my Toyota Pro Celebrity race time. But I realize that so many of you guys are cut from the same cloth,
Yeah, it's pretty similar when you get out there and start talking to people.
and it's just
Yeah.
it could be a rental car, a 72
Local go-kart track.
Plymouth Scamp local go-kart track. There's one mode, and it's I'm going to be faster
I
than
got to
you.
beat the other guy. Yeah, exactly.
It's not. We can have a great time. We can go to dinner later, but on this track, I don't know you.
Right.
I don't like you.
I don't like you.
And I'm faster than you. It's been really fun to see that.
You guys want pizza, by the way?
Oh, do you want some?
No, I'm
This is
good.
yours.
No.
We went to
It's hours.
It's
hours.
You're
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
We went to a. I convinced Tanner we needed to go to a Japanese barbecue place.
That was delicious.
Is it the one that? What's,
Gyukaku.
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
That was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it
we
was
don't
good.
have that
I
stuff
don't
in
think I've
Atlanta.
ever seen you react so quickly.
Oh my
to
gosh.
that shit.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah,
That's
he was
funny.
telling
Yeah,
me
it's
it's
like a
awesome.
local LA chain.
It's
It's like
delicious.
around here.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think technically we fibbed because I don't think either of us followed them on Instagram.
Wait, you didn't follow?
Did you?
You got no.
Did they recognize it?
I thought you
you
were
didn't
going to.
even know.
They said because it was happy hour. They said, "Oh, if you'll follow us on Instagram, you
Free
get free edamame."
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally forgot.
Ate the crap out of that animal.
Really good.
Yeah.
That place.
delicious.
We don't have stuff like that in
No, that
Atlanta.
place is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
And it was
yeah,
legendary.
there's this one on Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena.
well, now we have to go.
Yeah, we're going.
You have to. It's we have a little bit of history. Back when Tanner was a single man, I'm a pretty good. I don't want to brag.
The best.
Too late.
Thank you.
You're the best wingman
you.
ever.
Thank you. Because my beautiful, sweet wife loves me so much, we've been together 13 years, married 13 and a half, married 12 years. I don't mind making a fool of myself for the benefit of someone
Sure,
else.
agreed.
Got no
Yeah.
qualms about it.
Plenty of evidence.
So, yeah, right? Just look online. So I don't mind going into a place and be like, oh, wow, look at this table. Looks nice. Oh, my gosh, is that Tanner Foust? Is that 2 times X Games gold medalist, 2-time Formula Drift champion? 4? I'm so sorry. How dare I? And it's like
this is like a
it-
bad romantic comedy.
Right? We have had so much fun with that over the years. It's not near as much fun. Now he's got a girlfriend. It's just like, oh, I just sit there quietly in the corner
Just
most of the
quiet.
time. Yeah, and
So
Thinking about what it
anyway,
could
it was
have been.
never
Whose
about
pizza is that?
yeah, right. It was never about the of anything actually materializing. It was just really fun
Just to get
to
it
go
going.
out there and be an idiot and then watch Tanner just be himself.
Right.
Because that Nomex cologne thing, it's so real. It is
Nomex
so real.
I've never
What's
heard that.
what's the worst he struck out?
Ooh.
Ooh, psh,
That's
lots.
yeah, that's happened a lot. It's
Yeah.
funny. It kind of happens enough that then that becomes its own like war story.
Sure.
Sure.
But sometimes you'll be like, hey, that chick over there, she said you should come down and have a drink. She
She did
didn't-
not say that.
She didn't. She didn't see him. She did not. And Tanner will kind of go over and be like, oh, what's up? Hey, 30 seconds later, he's like, "Who did this?"
Yeah.
I want a name. Who did? Was it you or you?
Right.
Adam, was it you? And Adam just sitting there smiling. What? Some of our favorite times, I think, is playing craps.
Okay, Adam may have been a lot of things in previous lives. He may or may not have been in jail before. He certainly seems like he could have been.
Right.
But we were on the craps table 2 nights ago, and his pupils dilated.
Right.
And he's like, "Throw the bone, take me to the candy store," and he's like
Yeah,
just
he knows
throwing
all these
dice
things to
everywhere.
say,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I had no idea, man.
He's a whole different person.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
there's
it
like
was a thing.
snap hand signals and crazy things going on, and it's like
He's got codes for everything.
Yeah,
no one
yeah.
knows what they mean.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
starts off like suggesting where to put bets, and then he's just taking your money and putting it places. And yeah, I've seen that before. I know some people in Vegas that were like hardcore gamblers in the past. Adam has a little bit of that.
Oh
in
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He may.
He's
he may-
always got a guy.
Adam may not be his
He
name.
does seem like that.
He might have a different name.
He might be like Carlos,
He could be a Carlos.
Luigi. We
Yep.
have no idea.
Yeah, it's weird that we don't shoot in Lancaster, or there's some towns, some gambling
He's
towns.
probably
that
not
maybe-
allowed in.
Yeah, maybe Laughlin. We'd never go to Laughlin. You may have a history in Laughlin, Nevada.
But you really wanted to go to Pahrump last week. After all the terrible stories came out, you're like, maybe Lamar Odom's like, maybe he's kind of got it. Maybe he knows what's up.
We should check it out.
I mean, you just go in. Now, this is like the stuff
gotta
that
pace
Tanner
yourself.
Tanner will bring
That
this up
is
at lunch.
not
He'd be like,
true.
maybe Lamar Odom's got it right, you know?
he seems like he knows what he's doing.
Right?
Yeah.
Get a bunch of herbal Viagra, show up, have fun for a few days, and then just disappear, man. Maybe
Make
we're
a
all
weekend out of it.
maybe we're all doing it wrong. And you're like, what?
I
It's
would
like,
never say
no, I just
that.
saw the news for 30 seconds. That's all I got, you guys. I just want to be relevant.
Is there more shrimp?
Yeah, is there
Yeah.
any more shrimp? Then I'm just disappear.
There's a Spring Hill Raceway is there. That's why. I was
Oh,
wanting to go
right,
there.
right.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Do you remember the time we were shooting there and you were drinking till the sun came up
Nope.
with our director?
Nope. Oh, I do.
There was
Yeah,
a
you were on a
wedding.
pool table singing into a pool cue, which was impressive. by the
I
way.
had been
This
overserved.
needs to be the show.
Yeah.
This
I
is the
agree.
show.
But we started drinking in an RV once we were done shooting that day. It's when we were trying to drive from LA to Vegas and never touch pavement, and we finished up and we were going to pick up the same spot the next day, but they for some reason had an RV for us on that trip. And so we stopped. It took like six stops till we finally found a bottle of Crown.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everyone's in,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Get 'em
And
on.
someone else was driving, but we were in the back drinking. I tried to go to bed when we first got to the hotel, and something told me, like, you got to get back out there. Get back out there.
That stuff's coming.
Everybody's doing it. So I was like, all right. So I go back out, and we were at this tiny resort on the top of this mountain,
It was
right?
like a couple got married.
A couple had gotten married, and they're not like your average couple, and
Go
I
on.
hope they're listening.
Go on.
But moments in, they basically start offering everyone that we're with drugs.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Which we're not that crowd, but that became like the best thing we'd ever
Right,
heard. Like,
right.
we're so much fun. Strangers who are
Wanna-
still in their tuxedo and their wedding dress are like, we should all go outside and get high.
we need
or
to give them drugs.
here's some pills.
Yeah.
And Tanner's like, keep me away from those two. Keep me away from those. I said, I got it. Give me a pool cue. And then suddenly,
got
He
it.
starts.
I believe it
he's-
was Journey. Don't Stop Believing.
That's how it started.
That's what it was in my heart.
Yeah.
It was pretty. You know, I got a little karaoke
It was
background.
amazing, and there are still videos floating around.
I hope there's not.
There are a
I
lot
hope
of
there's
videos
not.
floating around.
But somehow I called it quits shortly after the pool table singing number. Tanner got roped in with our director, who's this amazing guy from the UK named Rupert. Can you cuss on this?
Anything you want.
Okay, his favorite phrase is harden the F up. HTFU is on so many cases and boxes, and he will shout it. So, like, I imagine Tanner's probably like, all right, you guys, it's been great. It's
You're
4.
right.
I'm going to go to bed. And he just starts saying, hold the fuck up.
That's how it sounds.
So,
I'm not a good drinker.
Tell me-
'cause
walk me
I don't
through
drink
what
a lot.
happened.
What's that?
walk me through what happened.
I can't go through every little thing, but
Just
there's
that last hour.
so
Very hazy.
somehow it's like 6 in the morning, and there's
Somehow.
3 of us left. It's Rob, who's the audio guy.
Oh, gosh. Audio Rob was amazing.
and Rupert.
That guy could pound him.
He could, but he couldn't. Like he could, but then he started speaking Klingon or
He was
something.
4.5 feet tall.
He had
and
the
this,
commitment level down.
this
He would-
dude drank.
Rupert would be saying, "Oh, and then this happened, and this happened," and I'd say, "Oh yeah, no, that's great." And then Rob would be like, like just like that, actually. Like that was pretty dead on. Anyway, Rob slept on the couch in the lobby,
Awesome.
and then I made it to my room and slept for an hour and a half or
What
two.
happened when the sun came up, though? That was the real icing on the cake.
You
'Cause
mean when we got back in the motorhome?
Tanner could in public probably get arrested after 2 beers. 3, he shouldn't be in public, right? So this is hours and hours. I mean, 6 a.m., I assume you were drinking the whole time.
Well, right when that happened, Rupert's like, "Okay, we'll call it a night. Just 2 shots of Sambuca, and we're out of here." And literally, yeah, that's how we finished. That was like
Because he wanted to cheers to like a fallen
he had a
comrade.
friend that had died, and that so you can't like back down on that.
Right, so you got to take this awful shot.
Yeah, and he's the director. He's gonna be like, "I'm not gonna be expected to work." You know, the director's like super hammered.
Except this dude can handle it. Rupert's
He's
the
good to go.
man.
Right.
Even he was pretty beat up in the morning, but
I think
we
call
took-
time was like 8:30.
yeah.
So 2 hours of sleep. And
We rode that motorhome up the hill. I was in the passenger seat, just breathing fresh air out of the window, like a.
well, I got some
Labrador.
great videos of that.
Oh, really?
Do you remember you saw it was a ski slope, but it was closed, and the sign says, whatever ski slope closed for the season, and there's Tanner reading it. And he's like, "They're closed for the season," screaming it. He just can't comprehend. He's like, "What does that even mean? Closed for the season."
Yeah. I still am confused by it. Like, why would you even put the sign up? Well,
Right. Where we stopped the day before, we do 1 shot, and they're like, "Okay, well, we're gonna have to stop because he's not making words. So let's just all have like a 2-hour break."
No, well, it was a build project, right? So we had these 3 vehicles. We had to make them more fuel efficient.
Aerodynamic, right.
Yeah. So you chose aerodynamic. Adam chose to lighten his car up. I chose to take a nap. And so that's so in the show you're working away. Adam's working away. I've got a hat over my face and I'm sleeping
In the RV.
in the Jeep. No, I was in my
Oh,
Jeep.
that's right.
Yeah, which I ended up owning for like 4 years after that show. And later in the day, we finished shooting the show. But that's just,
That was so much fun.
I don't know how Dean Martin did that for so many years.
Yeah.
Right?
Good analogy.
Thank you.
I don't know how Jesus turned all that water into wine. That
Yeah.
must have been exhausting.
That must have been a
Anyway,
real
that pizza looks great, though.
So, you got to see a lot of interesting things because you were like the infield go-to guy at NASCAR events.
Right.
What's give us a couple of NASCAR ridiculousness that you saw, whether it be a car on fire at Talladega, or I'm sure you saw a lot of boobs. Maybe not good ones.
Yeah, ones you want to see necessarily.
It's not. It's all quantity.
Right. As it
Quality
should
is not a drunk. When people are drunk in the infield of Talladega, in the 70s they would leave on Monday and just find 2 or 3 bodies.
be. Right.
Like people had just
gone too
partied
far.
so hard
Yeah.
they were
Wow.
just done. Right. So, and I still travel with NASCAR every week now for NBC, and it's so much fun because now these people, after all these years, really feel like they know me. So people will walk up and unload stories on me or tell me and show me things that people shouldn't
Right.
tell or show you,
Let alone you.
Yeah,
let
exactly.
alone me.
Yeah.
I'm the wrong guy,
Right.
right?
Well, now
Like-
legally you're a witness.
yeah, exactly. I think the first time I really understood NASCAR fans and their dedication, it was probably, I'm going to guess it was 7 years ago. On Thursday, I had heard about these 2 guys who were trying to take a flagpole down of their favorite drivers. People always have these awesome flags. They were trying to take this flagpole down, and it hit a power line in the
yeah.
infield.
Oof.
I think is what happened. I don't think it was lightning. I think it was a power line, and they got electrocuted and killed.
Whoa.
On Sunday morning, I'm in the infield shooting something, and I meet their widows
No
who
way.
are still there because that's what our husbands would have wanted from us.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my! And it's like 12 hours later.
Yeah,
Go,
right?
Go Dale.
And I thought, holy hell, man. That is some dedication. And then at the same time, it's kind of like the people with the making fun of San Francisco banquet. At some point, you just got to go, you know what? Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Like,
You care so much.
there's so many people that don't have anything that they really are
Care about,
passionate
yeah,
about.
for sure.
And these people cared so much that those guys knew they were going to have a great weekend, and those women said, no, this is what they wanted. Like, we would have been here. And one of them jokes, she's like, hell, if I dropped dead last week, I know he'd be here. And you go like,
You got to kind of respect that a
yeah.
little bit. I get that some people think that's off, but, I mean, that is dedication right there, right?
It's another world.
And people always talk about NASCAR kind of ebb and flow, and that it's, there's fewer people in the stands and all this kind of stuff, and that I guess it's cyclical. But man, the loyalty for the core group is so deep and so rich. Like literally, if their driver changes sponsors, they're changing the detergent they buy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
that
they
a
are.
minute.
Yep.
Like they'll throw everything
Yep.
away and go get new
God
stuff.
damn. If I ever want to put a positive spin on anything in life,
Oh,
I'm
damn.
going
I'm here.
this guy.
Right here.
Jesus Christ.
So, Isis, go.
You're 30 times the PR guy I've ever been.
It's true though. Now let me ask this: why don't remind me why you won't go try NASCAR?
Well, it's not that I won't. It's that the more you know about something, the more you realize you don't know. And I know enough about NASCAR to know that it's an uphill climb, and it would take a long time to,
Yeah, you got it.
to get up to
You
speed.
could do it.
And
Are you
your
teammates
buddy-
with Scott Speed?
yeah, he's the
and you're-
one that will tell you it's an uphill climb.
Yeah, but he
And-
was with a crappy team. It's not like Red Bull
Right.
was killing it anyway.
Yeah,
You
I
got
mean,
it.
It's kind of a political scene there, also, I think, and there's a lot going on.
What
It's-
about your buddy Pastrana? What did you
Yeah,
tell him
there you go.
when he went to race over there? What'd you tell him?
I mean, he didn't really ask. I had never driven it. He didn't really ask my advice. I just thought that there was a lot more going on than you see on TV, unlike
Sure.
in Days of Thunder. But
Just shift gears, right?
yeah, I think I mean, like when they were in Talladega, it's you have to really resist the urge to get out front. Every open door in a lot of sports is something you should walk through, but
Right.
there it's basically tempts you to
You can go from second to 32nd in about 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, you get a little bit of momentum on the guy in front of you. Usually that's a good thing, but there you need to pump the brakes and stay in line, or you're going to get yourself stranded out there.
I tell him all the time, I think Tanner would be great in
he'd
NASCAR
be
because
fine.
no one in GRC knows how to pass.
Right. They just wreck into
They
each other,
just
right?
wreck the
Yeah.
hell out of each other
Yeah.
every single lap. So
It's
I've
trouble.
said Tanner's the only guy out there that knows how to pass.
Yeah, I watched his teammate basically he got fallen behind on one of the starts, and so he just didn't brake until he hit somebody, and then he got on the brakes. I think it was in New York, and I was like, wow.
There's some demolition
Huh.
that goes on in
Okay.
GRC.
I guess I could
It's-
figure that out.
Right?
Just
I can
hit,
do that.
turn.
Mat it,
Yeah.
and hold it.
Right. Yeah.
It's
weird.
fun to watch,
It is
though.
pretty fun to watch because you don't have to pay for it or fix it.
They're pretty strict in Europe. And I started in 2009 going into the European Rallycross, and I saw a video of Marcus Grönholm in Sweden, and that's when I was like, all right, I'll get out of drifting if I can get a full season doing this stuff.
Sure.
And thankfully, Rockstar is like one of those rare sponsors. They're like, we don't know what it is, but if you say it's cool, we'll do it. And
We
So-
all need those.
yeah. So went over there, and there are some guys that have been doing it for just 20 years. Isaacson is one of those. He's had a little bit of the slow card, I think, in the U.S., but he in Europe he won the championship 3 times, and he was a master. If he ever didn't win the start and he was behind somebody, he was a master at just slotting right in on the back bumper, right at the braking zone, and then just waiting till he felt the bumper before he went to the brakes. And it wasn't enough that the guy in front would like bump his neck back and
Right.
shoot off the outside. They would just go one car width wide,
Sure.
and then that was it. And he did that to me 5-6 times, and some of them I didn't even know until I watched a video later.
Right.
I just thought that I went too late to the brakes and there wasn't grip. And so there's some mastery there. In GRC, there's no mastery. It's just straight up demolition. Like, bam, you see your own car chunks fly over the hood. And then you're like, is it still working? And you just got to
Right.
keep going
Right.
if it
Am I
still
still
works.
moving?
Was it LA when you were dragging the bumper for? You were sliding around this one big turn, big sweeper, and it looked like the whole rear clip was gone, but it was just your entire bumper, maybe part of the trunk. Could you Did you ever notice stuff?
I didn't
like
notice that. No, I saw later in the tape there that Pastrana had taken the Joker lap, which is kind of a shortcut everybody gets to take once a race. It's just to kind of mix things up. And he just sort of went for it, and it was kind of a collision course, and luckily he didn't catch the rear wheel. He just caught the rear bumper. And so it ripped the bumper off. If he would have got the rear wheel, it would have been really bad. But
Ryan and I were talking one day. Are the GRC cars made of paper mache, or why
They
is
just
it they
look like
explode
that.
on impact?
It's for ratings.
yeah. You have buttons you can push to pop off different body panels.
Yeah, as you
like in
should.
the movies.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's different in GRC because the tracks are tarmac. This is like nerdy, but it's because there's so much grip that when the cars hit, the force goes into the cars. When you're
Sure.
on the dirt, when the cars hit, the
just
tires
breaks
just
free.
slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the European tracks are mostly slippery. The tires are bias ply tires, so they really don't have any grip anyway. So the cars are always bouncing off each other and sliding. In the U.S., when you hit somebody, you break something.
I don't watch the series, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just honestly never catch it. And
Yep.
the only thing I really DVR is like F1.
Yeah.
So I never see the races. Every now and then I'll
Huh.
catch one. However, when I do, I enjoy them, but I don't know how serious you guys take it in terms of like, because in my series, if someone wrecks into me, we have to have a conversation afterwards because it's not expected that my car is going to come back destroyed. In your series, it's very likely that's going to be the case.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
It was a tough pill to swallow for the Andretti mechanics. It all
Right.
kind of come from
Sure.
IndyCar. And Rallycross is the only FIA sport where there's no penalty for contact. And it's so there's a gray area. It's like a judge thing.
Right.
And in Europe, the judges are biased towards if you touch somebody and it messes up their race, you get a penalty.
Sure.
And so they're real folk. And there are judges all over the track. There are FIA reps at every corner. In the U.S., it's not quite like that. The bias of the judging, I guess you could say, is more towards. I mean, if it's not a catastrophe and there's not a fire, then we'll just like let the show keep going.
Right.
And there aren't as many eyes on the track, really. So that's why people push the limits a little more in the States, and it's you hope that it gets better.
Right.
Hopefully it makes a good show on the one hand, and yeah, it's costing people money.
Yeah, very expensive. Sure. But do you guys get out of the car like, I mean, or is it such an expected thing that you're probably going to
No.
get smashed up that when you get out you're like, or do you go over to, Ken Block and say, dude, stop?
No, we talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Because it's a small paddock. I mean, there's only
Yes.
12 of you guys out there.
I
or
asked
whatever
that
it is,
question because a couple weeks ago, Ken is so far ahead now than he used to be for years,
Okay.
right? And I love his Jim Conn videos. I think he's a great guy. But for the first couple years, it was not on that same level. And you saw him. He went out there. He did rally, did more and more stuff, and he got better and better. But he's one of those dudes that always lived checkers or wreckers,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it in a glorious fashion. And when he showed up, I asked Tanner one time, I was like, why does his car look so different? And not trying to like put you on the spot or whatever, but there's like the way that some cars are built up and then other cars have to be built down. And he was in a car that was so superior, had to be built down. And you'd watch him, he would land flat 30 feet past the ramp when
Right.
everybody else was still trying to like tiptoe. And I was like, my man just goes yard. And he was like, but then 6 laps later, that bitch is in pieces.
Right, it's upside down.
Yeah, because like whatever. And so I asked that same question. I was like, is Ken okay? Because I saw there was like a little bit of contact. And then somebody else stuffed Ken. Oh, he had like 2 or 3 weeks that were just brutal. He was on the roof in Barbados, right?
Yeah. There's some drivers maybe that never did road racing, never had been door to door except in GRC.
Right.
And people that have done road racing before, especially people who paid for their own damage before, know
Sure.
when you turn into a corner and there's a car next to you, your apex is 1 car width and 1 inch
Yep.
wider.
Right.
Period. That's how you get through the corner and you race them into the next one. And hopefully you've got it worked out to where you're going to be on the inside of the next hairpin or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in more than half the drivers at GRC.
Sure.
They see the apex, they hear from the spotter, they see in the peripheral vision there's a car next to them. That doesn't matter. Drive straight to the apex,
Get
car
your
or
line.
not. And so
Coming
that's
in.
Get in there.
Yeah.
that's where the contact comes from, and that's it's a nature of the beast. And part of that is that the drivers really come from action sports. They don't come from
Right.
motorsports.
Right.
Just a few of them come from motorsports.
Did you see when they were racing at when they first started doing more stuff with GRC, they had to deal with SMI, and they were at New Hampshire. And it was after the nationwide race had gone on in the afternoon. They pull out all these ramps, and they had one ramp that you kind of slid over pit road, the pit wall.
I know exactly where this is going.
And I'm standing on the roof with, I'm up there with I'm on the roof of a trailer with Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, I think Carl Edwards is up there, all these NASCAR guys. When you can get their attention, that was the first moment that I knew, like, all right, this is going to work. 'Cause half the crowd stayed because they said, hey, if you just stay for another hour, we'll set up the ramps and we'll get it going. And I was watching Pastrana, and Pastrana hit those ramps like he was on a dirt bike. Hit the way that if you watched him and watched every other guy out there, totally different. And I was asking Tanner, I was like, I could see the ass of, I could feel like I could see his axle. I could read the part number.
Right.
He was so high up when he would go off the ramp. He was like, I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was awesome, wasn't it? We were watching this. I'm not going to hit it like that. I want to keep going. But it was those moments where I knew.
He flat landed that one time and broke the car in half.
Yeah.
Remember that? So it's like it was
Those aren't words that I've ever used before.
he was
you
from
know?
13 feet to flat and broke the chassis in it. So there's a penalty sometimes, but Deegan, anytime there's a jump is awesome.
Right.
Pastrana and those guys that came from two wheels, there's something, and I spent yesterday testing a Pro 2 truck at Lake Elsinore, and there's a feel that they have growing up that if you don't grow up, popping the nose off of jumps or knowing exactly how to leave the face of a jump, you're doing the mechanics of it, but you don't have the feel of it.
Sure.
The way that we used to test those jumps when GRC first came to the U.S. was we'd just stick Pastrana on it with a dirt bike, and he brought his dirt bike to every track.
No.
And he'd literally just look at it, and then and he'd already know what gear he was going to be and how fast he was going to hit it.
Right.
And then we'd follow him in a car right off his. He'd hit it once. Then you'd follow him, and you'd get a radar gun exactly on the car, what speed you were going, and then everybody was like, okay, it's 52 miles an hour.
No way.
And that was that.
So crazy.
That was the method at every track. And it just takes somebody with the feel just to look at it and go, okay. And then, but they don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Travis doesn't know. He's
Wing
not
it.
thinking, oh, that's about 52, They just
He's just like, it's going to feel like this.
yeah. It comes up to the ramp, and this feels, it's about right. And then just in the air, and it's perfect.
Right.
That's so hardcore, man.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd ever you'd be at like Road America and think like, let's send Josh out on a fixed gear and let's watch someone else take a turn.
Well, I think it's like when you do drifting, you go to, let's say if you went to a new oval you haven't been to before, you're just going to calculate what you know.
Right.
You'd be like, okay, at Irwindale we go through there at 6, that whatever slip angle and this much throttle. And the same thing when you go to a new racetrack. You think, okay, the kink at Road America is almost flat in this car, and this is pretty similar, so I'll try to carry some speed through. And
have you seen his Passat that he built for drifting this year?
yeah, we were looking at it on the way here because we're just trying to get some, refreshers. And I was looking at it and I'm like, what is that? Because it's not a front-wheel drive Passat.
It is the sickest Passat ever.
Yeah.
It's a Frankenstein Passat. It's pretty intense.
Right.
But it's
Same dudes that built his old drift car and my XB and Frederick Osbo, the Formula D champ, same Papadakis Racing built it. And they all use the same idea was to make, I think one of Steph's favorite rear ends was a Supra Mark IV subframe in the back. So they all use that.
Just keep using it.
Right?
They used to.
Oh.
The Scion was the last one to use it.
Okay.
The first year, and then they changed the rule. You had to have a subframe out of the stock car. So with front-wheel drive cars, it's tough because the subframe isn't really made for any squat or anything like that. So that one has a Scion rear, and this one has an actual Passat suspension,
realize that.
which isn't bad. I think the Passat's all-wheel drive somewhere, so it's a decent subframe.
Yeah. How much power do those things make?
The Passat is 900 horsepower. It's 700 before 150 shot of nitrous, which is the first time I've ever driven a nitrous car.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It doesn't suck. I mean, you got to get a mechanic in there to, purge it and do all kinds of stuff so you don't blow up, but it's like
now,
pretty
and you're
sweet.
not triggering that. It's off the RPM
It's on the
and
throttle.
Right?
So anything more than 90%, but you can bring that back up, and it's actually nice for drifting because so the car redlines at like 8,700 RPM. You can have the nitrous stop feeding at 8,400.
Sure. Yeah.
And then so it's like a soft rev limit
Mhm.
when you're on the bank because the bank needs all 900. And so it just sits at that 84, and it's like you don't have to sit there and bounce off the rev limiter. You can just keep flat.
Right.
What? Can you tell Ryan, how does the header work on that thing? I've never seen a work of art like this.
Well, the other part of Formula D back when we made the Scion was you could hammer the firewall out a bit
Okay.
to
Just
so
get some clearance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a decent weight distribution in that car. Now you have to have the firewall solid the way it was. You get to make a tunnel for transmission, but what it means with the front wheel drive car where the firewall is really far forward is you can't really put a big engine in there.
Right.
We have a big engine, so the headers all have to come forward into the bumper and it's an 8-to-1 accumulator there that's
Right.
all equal length and everything, and then the pipe comes down onto the car. And it's this crazy, I mean, this guy came in the shop, I guess he came in and in 12 hours, brought his own bender and everything,
Right.
and was there for 12 hours and it was done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's
a work of art.
Yeah, I believe it.
so every cylinder, you hear every cylinder sequentially,
Right.
and so it sounds like it's running twice the RPM it's running.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah, you
screams.
want
It
that,
just
yeah.
wails. Yeah, it's pretty awesome when you start it up, and it's like it's ear bleeding kind of when people are around.
Have you ever done any drifting?
I have not like in anything meant to drift.
Right.
Yeah.
Not like Andy Lally's turn 3 and 4 in Charlotte style,
no, never
or
that big either. But I've also never blown out tires immediately afterwards.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
it is my. It's always been something I've loved, but it's something I wish I had time to go do, like little amateur. Like it's some of the most fun you can have in a car, and I knew why people hated on it for so long is because they just had never tried it. And I of course have made fun of Tanner and a bunch of other guys, but to their face when we need to on
Sure.
TV about
Right.
it being sort of like it's like ballet meets motorsports because it takes so much finesse and everything
Right.
else. But I mean, watching these go into a Formula D event, it's so much fun to see. And I'll be at times the judging and how that stuff works. It gets a little confusing.
That's where I have a problem with it.
Sure.
Because I'm so used to racing a person or a clock.
Right.
So I have a bit of an issue with somebody going, well, you didn't have enough red tire smoke that time.
Right.
So that's
And that
where I kind
part-
of lose.
Hell, I've called Tanner and been like, all right, I was watching online.
And you're like, no.
What just happened?
Right.
Like, explain it, because they have these different like clipping points, and it back in the day, I guess that people would start to win with a certain sort of formula of what they were doing, and then the rule change would be like, well, you're kicking everybody's ass, so we got to change this. And then the next guy would kick everybody's ass.
Right.
It's like the Jimmy Johnson effect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We need to change X, Y, and Z, but it's so much fun, man.
I grew up, or not grew up, but I spent since 2004 racing against guys like Conrad Grunwald.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you know. And like Ryan Hampton and guys like that. So I know that those guys are good road racers that have made transitions to and fro. And so I know that it's got to be pretty freaking difficult. If those guys as good
Sure.
as they are on road racing can go over. But the only time I've ever really gotten to do it is working at racing schools. Like I worked at the Panos Racing School, and we had a Cadillac Academy for a couple of years. And we'd have to just take the cars out once a week because it was only like they only did 3 schools a year kind of thing, but we had 40 cars. So they'd once a week be like, hey, just go drive everything around the track or around the skid pad for a little while, make sure everything's okay. And so it was like, all right, CTSV, just like
Sign me
how
up.
sideways can I get?
Yeah.
And there's a pretty big skid pad in between turn 6 and 7 at Road
Yeah.
Atlanta. And so the trick was to see who could like roast it around the outside for a complete loop. And then that turned into who could do 2 loops and 3 loops. And then we got caught because we were bringing these cars back with no tires on them that we're
Sure.
using 3 times a year. And they're like, what's going on here, guys? But
I think I'm going to build a missile car, so we need to go somewhere and
A missile car is
Go for
great.
it.
A missile car is basically it's a drift car that is made for just going hard to the point where you're crashing into the other cars around you. And it's low budget. It doesn't need power because it doesn't have grip. You can have steering angle and stuff like that, but it doesn't need to look pretty. It's just
basically need to make like bash bars, they
Right.
call
Right.
them, right?
Right.
So that you can bounce off K-rails. And
there's like an old factory in Peachtree City that's just got a massive parking lot. I think it was like a
the old TDK place maybe.
Yeah.
Or photo circuits.
maybe that's what it is.
Someone finally started building on that.
Did they?
Yeah.
I was gonna say we should just rent that once a month, and then just go
I
to
love
Hertz
that.
at the airport.
Do they build like
Corvette or
old like
something.
Snidely Whiplash spikes and stuff going through, or is it just meant to? I'm just trying to
you
imagine
wear
this.
spike collars,
Okay.
but other than that, no.
There's-
No, there's a
Have you ever been to the Talladega Grand Prix, the little
little Talladega, yeah.
So somebody invited me on Instagram the other day. Said, yeah, we rented it out in February some weekend. I immediately thought, like, okay, I bought an old S13 Nissan 240SX from this old guy in our
The answer
town.
is yes.
Yeah, right, Sam. It's got 67,000 miles on it, all
It's good to
original.
go. Yeah.
Still has air conditioning, still has a little KA in there, but it's an automatic. So I want to. My buddy Greg works at Injuku Racing down in Florida. You know, they've got Nate Hamilton, Pat Mordaunt.
They've been in the drift scene
Forgetting
since
somebody else's car that is
they
there.
probably got in like 2008 or something.
They've got some killers, and they've got like
2006.
they've got tons of kits for, because you want to go 5-lug, then get crazy steering angle.
Right.
They've got LS kits, they got all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, just drag it down here. Like,
We'll take care of it.
I'll be in town I'll be at home in January. Can I bring it then? But I just want to have something like that I can go play
go
with,
out there
because
and
my
play,
Scion is so nice that I don't want to hurt it.
Right. Yeah.
But
That's
it's
the
my
problem.
favorite car I own.
Yeah.
It's like a 911 to me.
That video of you doing donuts at AMS is pretty awesome.
That ice bucket challenge was great. That's another time when I remind the internet. I give the internet lots of time to remember that I don't actually care what they think.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I like to fan that. I just throw a little gas on the fire. Like, why are you wearing those tights
Yeah.
in that
Why not?
video? Why not? We
Yeah.
bought those. Remember, I bought them when we were driving through that mall in Detroit. And this was like, these two girls, they had stayed late for us, and they were big girls.
Nice.
And I was like, I think I'm
Like,
going to get
you mean
those
tall,
pants.
right?
Oh, she big.
Very tall.
Oh, she big. You're like, go big girl, what you gonna do? And I saw these pants, and they had like all over print. And I said, I think, or if y'all still have your registered, I think I'm gonna get some of these. And they're like, you gonna get these for your wife? I said, oh no,
No, sweetheart.
these are for me, baby. All me. And my daughters called them my dance pants, so they would love it when I put them on. We start dancing around the house, and then my daughter
awesome.
Elsie turned 7. And she had a dance party out in the garage. My friend Yvonne Monet, amazing Atlanta DJ.
Yeah.
She comes over, sets up all these lights. It's out in the garage. Amazing time. And
Wow.
I walked out there, and Elsie told me to wear my dance pants because we're having a dance. And I walked out, and she saw me and said, "Daddy, I need you to go change."
That's too much.
I was wrong,
It was
Daddy.
better in my head.
Don't wear
Yeah.
your dance pants in front of my
Exactly.
friends. And I thought, this is officially the first time I've embarrassed her.
Yeah. Oh,
get
it's
used
not
to
the
this,
last.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
right?
Got
I
10 more
mean,
years of this.
it's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
So does Tanner know you were in a band?
I do.
Do you?
Yep, I do. Talked about it a little bit.
That's right. Legend has it.
Yep.
Did you ever? You saw
I'm
the
one.
band.
Yeah.
You
That
saw
was
him
always
play?
our like.
So he and I met at SEMA like 2 or 3 years ago,
Yes.
and we knew who each other were from like Lally and
And are you in a
Ashley and
band?
Stuff. No.
Because you played the drums, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, didn't you have one of our old band T-shirts?
I did. It was like the Legend of Zelda.
It looked
shirt
like
or something
it,
like
it
that.
was Mario holding
Mario,
up a
that's
hammer.
what it was. Yeah, that's right. It was a Nintendo copyright
Total
infringement.
infringement.
Yeah.
You like it was a toss up between Dungeons and Dragons and Mario Brothers.
It was all. And Rachel my wife worked at the shop in
That's so
Athens. So like
awesome.
they made all the fraternity shirts.
Right.
And one day we were like, we need some band shirts. I said, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I was like, yeah, my girlfriend works at this place. We can go get you. I forgot you had the blue shirt, and that was, I think you put that up a million years ago. You told me
Well,
like, hey,
I figured it out. Like we'd already met, and it was on the show. You were doing like the first car you ever had, and you had like the MR2, and you had the Volkswagen. And you're like, why do you have the Volkswagen, the bus? And
Yeah.
you're like, well, I played drums, and I was in a band. You're like, oh, what's the name of the band? You're like, Legend Has It. And I seriously almost fell off the couch.
Wow.
Because I'd been to like 5 Legend Has It shows. And Lindsay Pumpelli, Spencer's wife, who we were
Yeah.
just talking about, she was the one that told us about it. And I brought this other racer buddy of mine, Gunnar Jeanette, out to Athens. And so we went to the show, and you guys covered like the most ridiculous songs ever.
right.
And so when you said that on the show, I was like, holy shit. Like, I know this guy, but from like 15
How
years
funny.
ago or
I didn't
whatever.
realize that was what it was.
But the funny thing was that I remember when we were talking about this at SEMA, I was like, yeah, you guys used to cover the song Love in Your Mouth by Kilo. And you're like, we only did that once.
I got kids.
I was like, oh no, oh man,
Yeah.
that was Patrick. It was the best man at my wedding, Patrick Force. We met in class
Oh.
one day in
I do remember
at
that guy.
Georgia.
Yeah.
I think he might have been drunk the first day of class. It was one of those things where he walked in.
It's Athens.
And sometimes you just meet people in 10 seconds. So I'm going to be friends with this person
Right.
for a long time still. And I talked him into joining the band when somebody else left the band. And we were talking about like, oh, what are we going to do? And I would always, I played drums, so I would come up and I would do a little Outcast, and we'd do some sort of like a little hip hop break.
Yeah.
And then one day he was like, why don't we do Kilo's Love in Your Mouth? And I was like, dude, I can't say that to a room full of people. But I would be happy to back you up on that, because I'm up there singing like, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Right. Yeah, the covers
Bet
are
this
fantastic.
girl down in Atlanta let me play in a Ms. Alf. And I was like, oh, dude, this is so graphic. And my parents were there. The one show he did it, I think the one show he did it may have been my last show.
It was at the Georgia Theater, right?
Huge. You were there.
Yeah. So it was like, I remember they were like sending you off. And I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you as anything other than the drummer for Legend Has It. And I don't remember you. Like, I don't remember anybody.
I was wearing
it was a lot
Richard
of blurry.
Marx T-shirt.
Of course you were.
That just said Richard Marx in huge letters.
Why were they sending you off? You had already
It was like
determined
You were like leaving to go do other stuff or something.
I decided I would have a career.
Oh.
Secretly,
Weird.
the band was all mad. They were all pissed at me.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm still friends with all of them. But they were like, I remember the day I told them, like, well, guys, I'm graduating. I'm going to go get a job. I think I've lined up this job at Country Music Television, and I'm going to figure out how to get myself on TV and make some people laugh. And they're like, we're going to be rock stars.
Bro.
You're going to miss out, dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna regret this. And I was like, I'm also going to sell the band van. So, my bad.
What? Dude. Yeah.
And that day, so we and I used to, like, being the marketing guy that I was, and that's what I went to school for, we would, like, ride around on North Campus, and we'd tell people, hey, we're having a show. You got to come see all this different stuff.
Right.
And that was touted as my last show. We had 900. Do you guys want something else to drink?
I'm good.
You're right. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
The limes were great.
The limes were really great. It was touted as like Rut's going away show.
Yeah,
and I told everybody.
Right.
And we had 900 people.
It was packed.
Pay at the door of the Georgia Theater, which is this legendary place, to see a cover band and see 5 geeks play other people's music.
Right.
And it was one of those moments we made a ton of money that night, right? Because even if it's like $8 a head or whatever, like eventually you're like, oh my gosh, $400!
Right.
I'm rich. I'm in a band in college. Pizza's on me.
Maybe I should stay.
I'm going to stay, guys. We're going to go to Little
Never
Italy,
mind.
get a sandwich. And it was one of those times where you look back and like, how did we convince people? And dude, we had so many people that would just show up, and we'd play it like there, and I bet you saw it maybe Wild Wing. We played there all the time.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember the Georgia Theater one specifically. But Lindsay and her friends, because I left school to go racing.
Yeah.
So I would go to Athens like in the off season just to go party with my high school friends that were all going to UGA. And so Lindsay and a bunch of her dorm friends were like, oh, we're going to see this band. We love them. And they'd already been to like 3 or 4 of your shows.
Sure.
So they were like diehard fans. And so they actually gave me like a burnt CD. You got to listen to this before you come up tonight. I'm like, all right. And so like they all knew, like they knew everybody. I just knew the songs. And you guys all, you covered like awesome songs. So you didn't even have to know the band to get in on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I went to like 3 or 4 shows. And then the last one was at the Georgia Theater where they were like, I just remember someone was getting sent off.
What were some, besides Love in Your Mouth, what were some of the other songs?
Miss Jackson. That night I did a Miss Jackson medley, and it went into Dixie Chicks Goodbye Earl.
Nice.
Which was like, that was, for me, musically, was like a big check mark.
Finally.
Right?
Yeah.
I finally melded Outcast and Dixie Chicks.
They were like a cover pop punk band.
Yeah.
And so they did a lot of like the,
we played Newfound Glory.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like we always closed with their cover of Glory of Love by Peter Cetera.
Right.
Still one of my favorite songs ever. But we tried to do stuff that was like, we'd play like Jimmy Eat World. And stuff that was like
super fun.
We just wanted people to
Yeah.
move and like have a good time. When we first started, they made me learn the song, they're really nice guys. This is going to sound disparaging. I'm sorry. They made me learn that song Kryptonite by 3 Doors Down.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, this is cool, but like, this is the kind of music that a guy in a convertible Camaro would be blaring, and that's not really who I am. Could I put some songs in the suggestion
Can I get some
bowl?
Outcast?
Yeah, right? And they're like, okay, sure. And so I got them all listening to Newfound's still one of my favorite bands.
I love those guys.
Saw them Saturday night
Right.
and Yellow Card, and just,
Yeah.
it was so much fun. when I look back on it, and because I lost the Hope Scholarship, I was at Georgia State for a year and a half. I was on Dean's List there. I went from Dean's List to academic probation at Georgia in 2 semesters.
Solid.
Okay, name that tune in 2 semesters. So once I lost the Hope, my dad made me sell my car to pay for school because he's a smart man. And so I had to, I needed a job, and that's the cover band was how I would pay for school.
Right.
And that's how I paid for my wife's ring, and there were so many things, but it was just I couldn't have had more fun doing that. And I joke all the time, I tell people, oh, what are you going to do if you don't have a job on TV anymore? I was I'm going to start a wedding band with Patrick Force.
Go get your guys.
We're going to be an all cover band for weddings, but it's going to be all hip hop.
Yeah.
And hopefully we would call it 2 White Boys in a Cadillac.
Yeah, done.
Because Outkast has a song called 2 Dope Boys in a Cadillac.
Got it.
Wee-oo. Do-do-do-do-do, boom. AT Aliens was a big album.
We can't have that on here.
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
can't afford the
rights.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, have you checked out Big Boy's new project with Fanagram is the name of the group?
No.
Together they are called Big Grams.
Oh,
Worth
nice.
checking out.
Yeah, legit.
Holler.
Are you familiar with Stitches?
Stitches. Miami's finest.
That's a group or the song?
It's a rapper.
No, that's a
it's a
guy.
white
Oh,
rapper.
I
from
don't know.
Miami.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
to look him up.
I will.
Yeah.
He sounds nice.
He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google image search him when you get a chance.
He'll be
Wait,
thankful.
it's not the little white kid who's screaming about unloading a gun at a stoplight, right? Did you see that on Facebook?
No,
It's
no.
very
He's like an
similar,
adult, but it
he's
sounds
an-
actually kind of like the
Yeah,
same
it
thing.
sounds like
But
the same
fair
thing.
enough.
he's not a little kid. What about Cheddar Connect?
I'm sorry, what?
Cheddar to connect.
I beg your
He
pardon?
will not follow me on Twitter as much as I've been trying.
We heard him on the way out here, and so Sean's been tweeting him randomly.
Yeah,
throughout
every
the
day
last
I've been
week.
tweeting him, Cheddar to connect. Why aren't you following me?
Yeah,
And
right?
he wants
Yeah.
nothing to do with me.
He's
Very
not. It's
sad.
not where. And he's a rapper.
Throwing shade.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't connect.
Tanner Foust, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in.
My favorite part is that
Got
he
any
was like
lines?
disgusted with himself right there. He's like, sorry guys. Right?
How about what's the So I got really excited this year. Yellow Wolf was supposed to be at the spring Talladega race,
Oh, okay.
and he's a white rapper. He's on Eminem's label, right? And he's kind of this Alabama country tatted up, if Eminem and Leonard Skinner had a kid, I think that would be kind of what it's described. Right? And I really like some of the early stuff. And they said, hey, he's going to be there. You can interview him. This will be awesome. He went into the infield Saturday night, and they never found him on Sunday.
Really?
He had just partied his
went too
ass
hard.
off.
Yeah.
Never saw him. He didn't make a single appearance. He didn't make an
Right.
interview.
He's
but I
dead
was
now.
like,
He's
yeah,
dead.
right? I
Right.
hope he's alive,
Yeah,
man.
he might be.
It's
But he's
hardcore in
not.
that infield. He's okay.
But he's not.
He's
Rest
not.
in peace, Yellow Wolf.
Right?
Did you know that Spencer Pompelli killed somebody?
Did you see Ted 2, by the way?
Yeah,
Ted
oh,
or
yeah,
Ted
of
2?
course.
I laughed so hard on the airplane a couple weeks ago watching that. I felt like people were looking at me and judging me watching a
They
teddy
probably
bear.
were.
Because every time they referenced Google and they said you're always 2 clicks away from this one thing. I thought, this is genius.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane, he knows what he's doing.
Did you see A Million Ways to Die in the West?
No,
Yeah,
I wanted
loved
to.
it. Sean saw it. He didn't like it. But
I thought it was good jokes in a bad movie.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. But you'd like it if you like Family Guy humor.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he quoted Naked Gun 2.5 and got mad that I didn't catch the reference.
Let's hear it. Don't.
Let's
I don't remember the quote.
You got to deliver it.
Of course you don't.
No.
Was
don't.
that-
Oh,
did you-
it was. We were singing the national anthem.
That's right.
Yeah.
In Utah.
It was at the end of the national anthem.
How'd you end it? How did the movie go?
Was the name
Maybe
of
it
the
was
singer?
33 1/3.
That's the latest one. Yeah.
No, it was 2.5.
Okay.
It's 2.5. It was O.J. Simpson.
Right. Don't squeeze the juice, man.
It was what's the last line of the national anthem?
And the home of the brave.
Home of the brave, and then he starts running because remember he was being chased on the field.
Yeah.
And that was
That's the,
it because we were singing the national anthem.
Yeah.
That's the first one where he is posing as Enrico Palazzo.
Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, the first one.
You got mad and you were wrong.
Yeah, that's generally. Usually, if I don't have somebody to call me out, I can pull
No,
it
I
off.
understand. This is where I fall in.
Sometimes Tanner, he will cast it out there, and I'm the only one that he's looking to see. Like,
Right.
Rut
Get
might
it.
know this.
Get it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right, cool. Because sometimes we will get Tanner reared up about something, and it's so fun to watch him try to navigate. Because again, when he started driving cars, he basically quit listening or watching anything. Not like some stuff. I mean, he has a gap from like Real World Season 2 until basically the
with
movie
Dwayne Wayne?
Avatar.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Like
Where
I know
he knows-
Dwayne Wayne,
Yeah.
but nothing after that.
Are you talking about with the flip up glasses?
Yes. Dwayne, it's
from
there.
Different
That's from,
World?
like, yeah, no, that was from. That's right. It was Different World.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was that was like late '80s. That's bad.
I believe that was early 90s, but that close enough.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Same
It's
thing.
in the same.
Don't worry
ballpark.
about it.
I saw a quote on Jerry, which is a Instagram.
Watch your language.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
we're gonna-
sorry.
we're gonna have to beep
Excuse me.
that
If you
out.
can bleep that out, that'd be great. It was
Noted.
in 2 months. It's gonna be 2016. Why does it seem like 2008 was 2 years ago? Which it does. Seems like 2008 was just like a few years ago.
That's true.
Yeah, that means you're old. If it feels like that.
I mean, you're old.
I am.
A lot older than me. Like,
What are you, like 50?
57.
and he looks great for 60. He
72.
looks damn
Fantastic.
good,
Well, Sean's like 24.
right?
Yeah.
Opposite effect.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
Total.
Correct.
You're in like a weird Benjamin Button thing, and we are punished to look like Chris Farley's cousins. Like it's a whole
What I like is the hand gesture pointing at us
Yeah.
two bearded guys out of shape.
the big out of shape bearded dude.
Yeah.
The difference is like if we say it, it's fine, but if you guys say it, what
Like,
assholes
hey,
you
hey,
are?
what are you
guys,
doing?
Yeah.
What are
Right?
you doing?
It is shocking sometimes, and it's so funny because with like TV for the longest time, I had to hide that I just didn't know pop culture from 1992 on. Basically,
Keep
I
nodding.
I say 97, but it's really
It's
92.
really earlier. Sure.
And luckily with Top Gear, I don't have to because you were in a freaking band. You
Yeah.
covered all of the things I don't know,
Right.
and you know that culture so well that there's no chance I can half pull it off. So I just have to go with it, and it's a load off my shoulders, right?
I bet it is.
Yeah, like you go to X Games, and they're like, "Hey, tell us what's on your playlist,
Your cassette player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give us
Right.
your playlist." Yeah.
That's the moment where you're always like, don't say what's
Please,
actually
please don't
on
ask.
it,
Please don't
because
ask.
I will date myself.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, don't
I
say
mean,
it.
the true stories is like today was a good day. It's all Ice Cube or
Def
it's-
Leppard.
Still good.
No Def
Still
Leppard.
Come on, he's got a weird love of hair bands that is just the songs
Well,
that
yeah.
he knows.
It's more like
86.
cut up
Yeah, like, yeah, that was
jeans.
his-
It's less about the hair bands.
So
and
you
more
just
about
really
the,
love cut up jeans?
the acid wash cut up.
We were somewhere one day, and Tanner's like, no, you're gonna love this next one. See if you know this one. I'd never heard of any of the songs he's playing, right? And they were all from like 89, 90. He's like, why don't you know these? I said, I was 9.
I know
was 9. I
every
don't-
word. I swear I know every
I was
word from
outside.
virtually any song before
I was
91.
riding a
It's-
BMX bike still.
Oh, yeah, I had the yellow mag wheels.
And then the fact that you, like Tanner's #1 XM channel, like what, do you
Alt
have
Nation.
XM? Alt Nation. What
Or
about-
Howard.
Okay,
Yeah.
Howard's obviously the best. What about
I
you?
don't have Sirius.
Oh, you should get it.
I'm an FM guy.
We've been
Oh.
Alt Nation all week. You've
Yeah.
been pretty good
Okay,
with that.
sure.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
one's real solid. I like Channel 61, the bluegrass one.
Okay, yeah.
Man, good stuff. That Kyle Cantrell will walk you through an entire album and like tell you all these stories about it. It's really
Right.
great. Tanner's #1 is the Chill channel.
What is that, like 62 or
It's
something?
like
or
for
I think
people.
it's 43.
No, it's 50.
Wait, is this like chill, like
it's
like trance?
53?
53?
This is like beats
It's
BPMs
like
right before
yes.
it? Okay, so
it's
you're
like
in the
house
club.
music.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
You're
no,
in the
no.
club.
It's chill. That's
It's
54.
house music that's laid back.
The electron. Yeah, it's like laid back house music. That's right.
It's like if you walked into like a swingers bar. That's what's playing.
It's
Nice.
like
Maybe
got like
that's
a-
saying
He's
something.
got like a leather, like a what am I? Silk robe on and a
Like
stogie.
like a
Yeah.
smoking
Yes.
jacket.
See,
yes,
now we're
exactly.
talking. This
When
is
I
what I
see, he's
need
like,
after
yeah, that's where I'm at.
after a harsh race weekend. Sometimes you just need a stogie and a silk robe.
I think of a guy that lives in Miami and is leasing a Lamborghini
Yeah,
but lives
white
with his
sunglasses. Yeah,
Right?
That's channel
like, yeah.
54.
People think
No, seriously, you go up one and it's electric dance.
Right.
That's
That's how
what
he
you're
labels
thinking.
people think Vegas is fake. Dude,
Yeah.
Miami is the fakest place
So bad.
in the world.
So bad.
It is rough.
Every dude floss and you're like, that's a rental?
Yeah, and I know it.
Someone just fell down a ladder, I
Someone
think.
just died over there. Pompelli hit him
It's-
with a car.
Right? I
Yeah.
know.
But they
right?
would want this podcast to continue.
I think they would. I want to apologize. When
should.
when I came to see you this year, I had just finished the pro
Oh,
celebrity
you mean?
race.
Oh, we were actually. Yeah, it's kind of going towards our question. But
There
yeah.
at the paddock, and I walked over in my dance pants.
I know. I posted a picture of it in my racer column on racer.com.
I am sorry about that.
No.
That's one of those moments where if people aren't sure if I ever
No way.
cared what people thought, that's the moment when they know, like, oh, this dude really doesn't care. And I apologize. It may have been you introduced me to everybody on the team.
Well, no, but everybody knows who you are, so they're all like, "Oh, can we meet Rutledge?" I'm like, "Sure, okay." But you made one of our guys on our team's weekend because you're like, "Are any of the original real-time mechanics still here?" And little Pete has been there since day
Yes.
one, and he was standing right behind you and heard it, and he didn't like me until that.
You're kidding.
Because he's like Petey, my teammate who owns the team. He's been there for 20 years, whatever.
Sure.
That's like his guy.
Right.
And even though little Pete works at Honda of America full time, he flies in for all the races, only works on Petey's car, and I'm the new guy in the team this year, so it's like he doesn't know what to think of me yet. And then you walk up, and he knows who you are, and he's like, "Are any of the original real-time guys here?" And he's standing right behind you, like, "Yeah." And since then,
Oh
he and
my
I are good.
gosh.
So
I
appreciate that.
I was
the pants
bragging-
were whatever, but
I was bragging on you and real time today when I was telling one of our friends, like, oh, this is what we're going to do. Those Type R's and those Acuras that they built, I mean, how could you not? Do you remember the white with it was like almost
Neon
a
orange.
day glow
yeah.
orangish. Some pictures look pink, which is why I loved them even more, right? Because I thought
No,
these dudes are so
I
ballsy.
remember him. There was I worked for a long time with Petey, and worked for a long time with Pierre Kleining,
Yeah.
Kleinubing.
Yep.
And then one of the guys that got me into in motorsports in the beginning, it actually convinced me to do rally racing out and get out of road racing. Just because I was kind of struggling for money, was a guy who I sold sponsorship for sometimes trying to make a business of it, was a guy named Kevin Schrantz, who was racing for PD back then. And they've had a solid run. I'm amazed it's still going. The Acura relationship's got to be one of the longest team manufacturer
It is,
relationships
for
in
sure.
road racing.
It is. Yeah, it's 20 years.
That's
20
amazing.
years, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
You dig his car. It's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah,
bad
they
little
were
mammoth
badass
jammer.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we're using all the same stuff in our car that the Indy car, the prototype cars have in terms of like paddle shifters and
Sure.
gearboxes and all that stuff. And yeah, it's just bitching.
Have you ever seen they have any of those old white and orange real-time Type
They have
Rs
one in the
laying around?
shop, and then the other one's actually like 10 minutes from here because HPD's just up the hill.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So they have like, Indy 500 winning cars from the last couple of years. and
You've been
PQ
out
cars
to
and stuff.
their proving grounds out in the middle of nowhere in the desert,
I was
right?
just at the Mojave proving grounds like a month ago.
That's the one
Yeah.
that you remember. That's the one we went to, and I was in that Celine, and you were in the Lucra.
Oh, yeah.
That place,
That was
I can't imagine because like
scary day.
they used to do insane. They'd take like a Civic EX and drain the oil and just drive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like just
Name it. They've done it.
amazing
Yeah.
stuff.
I love that stuff. So anytime I go to proving grounds or whatever, I'm just like looking around
Right.
and asking questions, and generally no one gives a shit because they're there every day.
Right.
It's like whatever. When I went to the Ford proving grounds, the one that's actually on property in Detroit, where
Right.
you see it when you take off out of the airport there, they have this original picture of like an old F100 doing suspension testing right when you walk into the drive center right there, and it's literally a wooden ramp that's like 4 feet high. And there's 3 dudes in lab coats and 1 dude just in the truck, and it's like 6 feet in the air. And it's like the coolest picture ever because it's like 1962
awesome.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's like, go!
Yeah.
And then like dudes have clipboards. Like,
How'd it do?
That was like the beginning of the Rochambeau.
all right, so we know you guys have to get going here. A recurring thing we've been doing is we've been handing down a question from the previous guest
Oh,
and so
great.
forth. So we earlier had
That sounds scary as
Yeah.
hell.
We met yesterday with Eric Valdez, who races in Continental Tire Series, and he was on a television show called General Hospital,
Yep.
as well as Gilmore Girls and
Get out.
Jarhead 3, the movie.
Jarhead 3, which is coming out soon.
I bet he's a handsome son of a bitch.
He's a pretty good-looking dude.
Yeah.
He is the exact same age as me.
And
But
he's-
like to look at us, you'd think there's
he's-
like a 15-year
he's
gap.
like
It's really
12
sad.
Yeah, he's 18 years old. So we didn't know if we were going to see Paul Fanner or not. So we got him to ask a question for Paul and then a question for you. And because his question for you is pretty interesting, I figure I'll ask that even though Paul has
Okay.
one for you as well. So Eric Valdez's question for you was, if you were to do something completely outside of the realm of cars and motorsports, what would it be? Would you be a survivalist, off the grid, live off the land? He's asking because of the beard.
Hilarious. You've been in the woods with me before. How would you answer that?
Rutledge doesn't camp.
Copy.
There's
10-4.
there's
I'm not much of an outdoor kid.
I'm pretty sure that the last thing that I heard on the subject of camping was, okay, look, guys, as long as my tent says the Hampton Inn on the side, I'm good.
Right. That answers that perfectly.
There's a real question in there. I would never be a survivalist. I like the outdoors. Patrick, my friend Patrick, we were talking about, he has been walking the Continental Divide.
Oh, wow.
And he had talked about walking the Appalachian Trail. I used to think that was the craziest idea in the world. Now I get it that it's a pretty unbelievable
it's a whole
thing
experience,
to walk the East Coast like that. Like I would love that.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that.
Sure, I'd watch the documentary.
Yes.
Yeah,
But turns out I don't have 6 months to just go take a hike. But I love the idea. I think a lot about what I would do outside of cars and TV because, everybody at this table knows that there's certain careers that the moment you get in it, that clock is ticking.
Right.
And it's not that it's for your level of enjoyment, it's really the rest of the world's. And so for me as a dad, I talk with my girls constantly because as y'all know, like travel's just part of what we do. No one would really travel for work if they had to.
Sure.
Like it seems so glamorous.
At first, yes.
And I had to point out that like I have a 2 Best Western stay per season, and we've pegged those out in the first 2 weeks of Top Gear. So I'll just let y'all know there's gonna be Hampton Inn. So like I don't need the 4 seasons.
But Hampton Inn's your go-to.
Hampton,
I'm a
I've
big
never
Hampton Inn
stayed
fan
at a
myself.
bad Hampton
Right,
Inn.
yeah, exactly.
Right, like they're always just
The
fine.
pillows are always good.
Yes.
They leave you the Post-it notes
Right,
sometimes in
which
the
are so
corner.
cute.
Yeah, it's nice of them.
Because people don't know the difference between the 4 Seasons and a Hampton Inn is sheets and towels and pillows.
Right.
That's everything
That's
else.
it.
It's just
Yeah.
4 walls that I'm trapped in anyway.
Sure.
It doesn't make any difference. But
Cookie.
yeah, and
cookies are good
DoubleTree
too.
the other night. How good were those cookies?
Those are good.
Wing. But I always tell my girls like, "Hey, Daddy's not going to be doing this forever, And so for me, like I spent probably 2 hours today cumulative thinking, what car do I own that I could trade for a wrecker? Like a rollback and then quietly start like a towing company.
Right.
But I realize that's still cars. I
You got a problem, man.
when I finished school, I said I'm going to go try this TV thing, and if it doesn't work, then I'm going to go back to school and be like a high school counselor.
Which you would be awesome at.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Right?
She would be awesome and great and terrible, all at the same
I'd
time.
say-
Give you some life advice, kids.
Yeah.
Hampton Inns are really where you want to be.
Hampton Inn,
Yeah,
kids.
Here's what you do. Get on Craigslist, find a job, sneak your way on television, have a great time.
Get
I'll
a
be here if you
wrecker.
need me.
Start a wrecker service.
Start a wrecker service with shit cars. No, but I just always wanted
Is your dad going to sell that car?
Hey, is your dad going to sell that
yeah,
car?
yeah.
So, I'm telling you, a girl emailed me yesterday on Facebook and said that her dad, who's suffering dementia now, has 60 cars on his property, and some of them are tucked in the way in the woods, all this different stuff. She's like, what do I do? And I tried to help her as much as I could, and the whole time I just kept thinking, what part of Alabama?
Yeah, where are you at? I'm
How
coming.
maybe I have a minute. I
Right.
could like come check it out. But it's a disease.
Let me know when you go. I want to go.
Right? It would be
Yeah.
so much
I still want to
fun.
go to that one dude's farm that's got all the trucks and everything.
Up north?
It's not too far from us. It's like Mentors or.
Oh, my friend?
Yeah.
Rick Minters?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's got like the full farm with all the old cars on it.
We'd
Yeah.
love
I want
to.
go check
That's
that
where
out.
we get our Christmas trees.
Right.
every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
You
telling me
need to
that.
start. It's a great tradition. But I think cars and he laughs, but like cars and people are really all I know. And so if I don't do something in cars, it's got to be something with people.
Right.
But I just want to make people smile. I'm an idiot.
You do a good job with that.
Thanks, man.
So then Paul Fanner, who, again, head of Racer Magazine, first thing he asked, and I guess both of you can answer, is can you recommend a good place to eat near El Toro?
Well,
yes.
I wouldn't say near.
Where was the one place we went almost every day?
Daytime or night?
Let's say night.
Okay, let's go with dinner, yeah.
Oh, okay. There's 2 places.
Well, wait. We're like lunch-ish.
Oh.
Because that's where you're going. You're not going to stay in El Toro. Well, I guess you guys would be because you're
We
filming
did.
there. Yeah,
when we were
that
doing
sucks.
the studio, we stayed down there.
Right.
That's
Okay,
not
so
bad.
for
You can go to
lunch,
Irvine. It's
the,
okay.
the
yeah.
best lunch place is hop on the 133, which is right off of El Toro.
You take the 133.
You take the 133 down. Oh, I would take the 405.
Oh, Terry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Take the
Californians.
133 down to PCH, turn left, go up the hill, and on the right is a restaurant called Cliffs, where you'll get a great cheeseburger overlooking Laguna on the water.
Oh,
amazing.
that's where you took us.
Yes.
That is nice.
That
I've
does
been
sound
there.
fantastic. I've never
Okay.
seen anything like that there.
Yeah.
Tanner was
Cliffs.
pumping drinks in me. Hello.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Then
You were grabbing them from him?
Right.
Yeah.
Give me another one.
Turns out it takes 3 roofies to get.
I need a
guy
horse
down.
tranquilizer.
At night.
This is why I think you're creepy. Of all the references.
It's not that I know Wham songs.
No.
Okay,
I
good.
overlook that you know the words to every Wham song and the harmonies.
I
That's
don't know. Name one Wham song.
I don't really know.
besides
them.
Wake You Up Before Me.
There we go. Okay,
Wake
that's
Me Up
it. That's
Before You
like
Go
all I
Go?
got. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Their version of Last Christmas. Shut up.
Yeah, that is.
It is the best.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Where is
Sushi Plantation is the next one.
where?
Is that in that
Sushi
little strip mall?
Plantation?
Sushi Plantation is it's south, 15 minutes from El Toro,
Been
on
there.
Avery Parkway.
You took me there, right?
There's a new sushi place
Ooh.
that is awesome. It's a terrible name, but it was a chef from Sushi Plantation. It's very close to El Toro. Don't know where exactly it is, but it's called Etc. ETC, Etc. Sushi. And go see Dale.
One time.
See Dale at the sushi place.
Yeah.
One
got
time
it.
I saw Tanner vibing this girl. We won't mention any names.
This is years ago.
And I started, it was years ago.
Yeah.
I started this whole conversation. I was like, "Oh, so where you live?" And she said where she lived. And I was like, "Oh, is there a good sushi place down there?" And she said, I was like, "Oh, Tanner says this place is way better." He's like, "We know the chef. It's like a whole thing." And so all of a sudden they start talking about it, and I was just boom. I was a fan of it.
and I'm out.
I was gone. And it started a whole thing. I was really proud of that one.
You're a glorious wingman.
Thank you.
How old are your kids?
Mine?
Yeah.
I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Do you really?
Yep.
Seriously?
Yep.
I was totally joking. I meant with the sushi chick.
Oh, right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how
I
it
don't
pans
know.
out one day. It's not. Mine are 7, 5, and 19 months. It's crazy being a dad. It's like the craziest thing
That you're a dad.
ever.
That you've
Right?
got a whole bunch of them.
I laughed because I remember we went to a Halloween party. Rachel was pregnant. She was driving, and you know when you're in a relationship and the other person is driving, and you're like someone that travels for work a lot. If you know you're home and you're actually going to see like your closest friends, there is just nothing holding you back. It is like a free pass from the world.
Yeah.
And there I was dressed as Buddy the Elf on the side of the highway puking 3 different times on the way
What's
home.
your favorite color?
What's your favorite color? And I just, I remember that. I was like, I'm about to be a dad, and I'm in tights on the side of the highway.
That was a
Vomiting.
dark moment.
Rough time.
Oh,
On
man.
a rough night.
Good luck finding your dad.
Oh, good luck with your dad. Thanks, Mr. Narwhal. Was there
Mr.
one?
Narwhal.
Was there one more question?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Where do you shop for your clothes? Because
the
you're always wearing flannel, so
at
I
the
think that was
toilet
a joke
store.
there. Nice.
Where'd you get your suit? At the toilet
At the-
store? Even the guy that can't talk said something.
Really? No one?
No one? So here's what happened. I always wore Western like shirts, especially working for country music television. Like that was my go-to.
West Mantooth.
West Mantooth.
Dorothy
Then for
Mantooth is a
years,
saint.
she's a saint. I had that T-shirt.
Did you
It
really?
was
I've
really
seen
good.
it.
I
Yeah,
loved
yeah.
it. For years working on Speed Channel, I made like my own Dickies shirts. Like I always wanted to be really approachable.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't want to wear like the fancy golf shirts or whatever. So I had a patch, like a little script that said Rut, and had my little speed stuff. So when I got the gig on Top Gear, they're like, okay, and just what do you plan on wearing? And I said, I just wear T-shirts and jeans. This is what I look like all
Pretty
the
much
time.
this.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I'm wearing this Casey's Speed Shop. They're like, yeah, you can't have logos. TV doesn't work like that. It's like it's got to be clear. And there's like a whole thing. And I was like, oh. Well, I guess I'll just wear one of these plaid Western shirts. And I'm like, okay. So that became like what I
Right.
would wear, right? And now a lot of people think it's flannel, but
Yeah,
I
that's-
am not a tiny man. So I guarantee I own one flannel, which is plaid. But plaid is a pattern. Flannel is a fabric, right? See where
I
I'm
like
going
the little
here?
hand
Yeah.
gesture that goes
Yeah.
with it.
So
Yeah, I
that's
wish
why
people could see this.
that's why I say plaid is red. But so I now I wear a lot of different Western wear shirts.
So he comes to set, and the plaid shirt comes. It's almost in like a glass case. It gets handed.
Oh, they bring it
from
in.
PAs
I
to
see.
There's
PAs.
like a
It's-
security guard.
It's on a hanger.
It's a
always-
briefcase with
yes.
with the
So is
handcuffs
there-
in
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
An
Is there-
attaché?
Until the very last second before we start shooting, and then the plaid goes on. And everybody's like, oh my God, it's a perfect match with your shoes. That's amazing.
Like doves fly out from behind you.
Yeah.
I pulled
Exactly.
one out of the back of the closet because I knew we were gonna get just
Mm.
crap thrown on us
Mhm.
this week for something stupid. And I came out, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, that looks great!" And I thought I wore a shirt that I would like be okay with messing up. Maybe I should save this. Huh?
Is there a wardrobe department?
No, man.
Okay.
We're
Are
on
you
cable.
Nothing would make me happier than knowing there's like a sea of Polaroids of like the exact same flannel everywhere.
Oh
in
my
the
gosh,
closet.
I wish.
I've had the same 9 T-shirts for 5 years now.
Oh, it's sometimes that if you want to know, like Adam and Tanner are some of my closest friends now, doing this for so many years. But there have been days, like this morning, he was about to walk out. He was driving me here and drive me to the set because he lives here. And I was like, hey, you can't wear those shoes. And he just looked at me. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, just telling you as a friend, you need to change. Okay.
All right.
Okay, you went back in, got a different pair of shoes. How's this? That's great.
You'll
Let's
be
go.
all right. Yeah. Sean and
like-
I aren't quite there yet.
No,
yeah,
but
we're not.
like sometimes you just got to be like, we were doing something today, and he was sitting on a car, and I watched a video the other day. He's got this awesome bin pack lift at his house. He was telling me about it. He's like, oh, you got to check out the video. So I'm watching on bin pack's website, badass lift. Tanner looks like a toddler the way he is sitting in this video. And I said, dude, what was this about? He said, nobody said anything, man. I wish
They
you'd been
just
there.
posted it.
Nobody said a word. I was just very comfortable.
Yeah, no one was
But
there to correct me.
he's sitting like with one leg up, and all you see is leg. He's in like short shorts.
Right.
He's in like Daisy Dukes out there. So sometimes you just have to have that kind of honesty with
You're
the
like,
people
dude,
you care
stop
about.
it. Yeah.
No one ever does that to me. Like no one will ever be like, hey man, that shirt's a little tight on your man boobs. You gotta.
You
there
show
anything
up.
else?
You show up wearing the dance pants.
Right.
To me, and I thought you looked great. So
Thank you.
I'm not helping.
Yeah. And
I was like, stop! I got to get a picture of this.
Ding.
This is amazing.
but ding.
Yeah.
It's how it goes sometimes.
All right. Last part of the question.
Great.
What is your favorite type of racing series and why?
Ooh. Favorite type of racing series and why? I'm gonna have to give you a two-parter.
Okay.
Because I can't help it.
It's okay. We have time.
Good. NASCAR number one, because it has just provided so much joy and fun in my life over the years. I never watched NASCAR growing up. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a connection to it. I knew the names Petty and Earnhardt and Wallace.
Right.
I grew up in Birmingham, only knowing that twice a year there was traffic 45 minutes outside of town. That's
sure
all. Like
why.
I was just in a pocket where people didn't know it. And once you go out there, it's so easy. If you like cars and you like people who like fun, just time of your life.
Right.
I get why people like. I could watch. There are certain races that just sometimes don't move the needle.
Mm-hmm.
But I could go to any race that you guys are at, and I would sit and really enjoy myself. But there's other people who would look at that and be like, I don't get it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I don't get it.
Most
so
people.
yeah, right. Like it's just kind of it's. There's always something different. There's always something for everybody. So NASCAR is always going to be my number one. I think honestly for me, because I just love it and I know the people and it's so much fun. Formula Drift for me is probably number two, because I will be at a race watching or being a part of our Xfinity coverage on a Saturday night, and then as soon as it's done, I get on the little drift stream and I try
Right.
to watch this. For whatever reason, a successful racing series has the worst ability to watch it. It's theirs.
Right.
They know they can't really do anything
Sure,
about
sure.
it because they're in the middle of nowhere. But like watching Formula D, it is so much fun to see those cars hang out the way they do, and to watch guys like Forsberg and Ryan Turk and Vaughn Gittin. There's so many good guys that are out there that I feel like these are my homies. Like I'm just watching dudes, but nothing compares to getting to run in the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race. This year was number 4 for me, 4 in a row. Getting to be on that track at Long Beach, like I don't know if you have that same feeling. When I ride around there, and Tanner did it. Tanner gave me all sorts of pointers about it. And then when I sucked the first year, he was the first person to call me and be like, well,
Dude.
you sucked out there. What was that? And I'm like, for me, it took people. It took me winning the Pro Celebrity Race for people to realize like I'm not a terrible driver. Because
Sure.
I will tell people like Tanner is one of the best drivers I've ever seen in the world, and I spend time with great drivers all over the place. And there's no question he's a much better driver than me, but I'm not that bad. But it took me winning that race for people to like, oh,
I guess he's all right.
I guess when you stand next to like, Claudia Schiffer, you kind of look ugly. Like, yeah, no crap.
Yeah, weird.
Right? So like Tanner's my Claudia Schiffer, if that's. God, I hope that's her name. That's an old reference for you. Do you remember? She was a model. I get it. You know what I mean? So
That's a quote we're using to promote.
absolutely.
right?
Tanner
But
is my
man,
Claudia
being
Schiffer.
on that track, Tanner's my Claudia Schiffer. That's the name of this one. Being on that track in a city that comes together the way that Long Beach does. And, I'm not a California guy. ATL for life. Dude, I've never seen anything like that. It is
That was my first
amazing.
time this year, and I was blown away.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
it's
cool?
awesome,
Like,
right?
no one had ever
They
explained
do
it
like
to me.
6 series in a weekend. And
Yeah, they had the drift thing a week before.
They shut the thing down for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, the big, like,
Where are you going to do that?
what's it, Party on Pine or whatever
Yeah.
it is, or whatever.
Thunder on
That's
Pine,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing
Thunder on Pine.
to walk around there
Yeah.
during the IndyCar race stuff. Dude,
Yeah.
half the people don't know there's a race going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who the hell else could promote something the way that Long Beach does and just
You can't
it's
see it when
Right.
you walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just hear it under the bridge.
Yeah, no one ever told me how crazy it was, and with the amount of people that came through because we're in the conference or the, the trade hall or whatever
Right.
it is.
Yeah, it looks like the aquarium.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that are walking through, and I'm like looking at all my guys like, why aren't we handing out?
Right.
Like, this is the most people we're going to see all year, hands
Yeah.
down. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, I got to say, I've been going every year since I came down to college in '97. And the pro celebrity race is by far the highlight for most people who go
Super
there.
fun, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely fun to just sit in the grandstands and watch. So you've been endless amounts of entertainment.
Thanks.
Eric Valdez, who we had
Yeah.
lunch with yesterday, he, I think, is going to be in it next year.
Yeah,
or
he was
he's-
up for
Oh,
it this
no
year
way.
and couldn't do it.
Yeah,
And so next year.
So he's actually a decent little racer, so you're going to have
that'd
some
be awesome.
competition,
Yeah.
but I think you can take him.
I have the people that I've met doing that and the relationships made. The reason that I have an agent now is because two of the people that I raced with there was Bill Fichtner and Kim Coates pulled me
yeah.
aside and they were like, "Hey man, you have to do something about this. You're good at whatever this is. You need to
Right.
do more of
Can't
that."
figure you out, but
Is this the guy that I've met a few times, like on Hot Rod?
No, Bill Fichtner.
Bill Fichtner, you would recognize
Yeah,
him.
William Fichtner, amazing actor. Kim Coates was in.
No, your agent,
Sons of
I mean.
Anarchy. Oh, you met him at the race.
Yeah,
He came
and-
with me.
and he's been at I've seen him in the airport.
Mark
and
and
stuff with
Marla.
it.
Have
yeah,
you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking of my manager.
That's
Adam.
Yeah, Adam.
Adam,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Also happens to be my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Works out very well that
Nice.
way.
When I did the celebrity race, it was they said it was the most damage they'd ever had in the celebrity race.
Which year was that?
Was that the
And
FR or the Celica?
I don't remember what
No,
year
you were
it
in the
was.
TC still.
It was in the
Okay.
TC, and it was some of the players, Keanu Reeves and I think Adam Carolla was in there, and there were a
Jimmy
bunch of
Vassar.
Jimmy Vassar. Oh, so the racers were tough that year.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
like a
Steve
solid-
Millen.
Yeah.
Jimmy Vassar had won there 11 times. It wasn't like a drag racer and then a BMX biker
Right.
as the pros. But anyway, it
Because
was
you're a pro, right? You're in the pro class.
I
now?
am now.
Yeah. Right.
Ironically.
Look at this guy.
Look at you two, and I'm like, yeah.
It was the most amazing experience. We did 5 laps and clean racing, and Vassar and Steve Millen and I had a deal. We were going to go bumper to bumper until we got through the celebrities and then race it out. And we all had qualified within a couple tenths, and everything was pretty even. And right away, Steve Millen tried to take us both out in turn 1. So it didn't work out. So Vassar and I just tunneled through everybody, and we got into kind of maybe the second or third overall, I guess. And then, and at that time when I watched the television broadcast, the announcer said, "Wow, this is the cleanest celebrity race we've ever had. This is great," and then hit the fan.
Right.
And then it's like in the same lap, Tony Hawk rips a corner off of turn 6, I think it is, and then the BMX biker puts it in turn 7, and then it's turn 8, and then there's like a 15-year-old pop singer wrecks in turn 1, and the auction.
Oh, yeah.
The auction guy T-bones him
Yeah.
at like 65 miles an hour.
Right.
You see his head like pop out
Yeah.
the window.
Yeah.
And then the auction winner keeps driving, pulls oil all the way around until the car catches on fire and burns to the freaking ground.
Yeah.
So now we're in this double yellow. The smoke is like hovering in the fences. There's like this Gregorian chant going as we're driving around slowly. All these people are like holding their necks.
Right.
Tony Hawk is like dazed. And I mean, it was the most insane single lap, 5 cars totaled.
Right.
And so they're like, all right, we're gonna just push it out for just I can't remember. I think they gave us 2 laps. We're gonna do 2 laps, and then that's checkered flag. And then that's when Vassar got dirty, and it all went to hell. And we came in. Oh, first of all, when they threw the yellow, Adrian Brody, who I know must have raced against every year.
He is crazy.
It
on
was
the track.
it was double yellow. We were going 30 miles an hour down the straightaway for like 30 seconds.
Right.
Just
Forever.
forever, and you just hear this meep meep He passes the whole lineup and then realizes, oh, it's yellow and tucks in like in second place. And
Right, just
stayed
right
there.
here.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
stayed there.
he still didn't win.
Yeah, no, he didn't. So we came into turn one. Vassar, being the master that he is, goes in and outbreaks whoever it was, but stayed next to him, just
So he couldn't
just
turn
enough
it.
so I couldn't follow him
Right.
through.
Right.
So now I've got Sean William Scott.
Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Stifler.
Yeah, between no, it wasn't Sean William Scott. It was who married Megan from Transformers.
You're talking about Megan Fox's husband.
Oh,
which would be
Ryan Austin Green.
Austin
Yeah,
Green.
Brian Austin Green. So it's Vassar, Brian Austin Green, and myself. When we come into the fountain, I go into the oil, and 0.0 breaks. I go almost under Brian Austin Green, throw him into Vassar. Vassar goes crashing into the tires, bounces out still in first place. Brian Austin Green pulls over and is like, go right ahead, a-hole.
You've almost killed me. Just go.
Yeah.
And so then I followed Vassar, and we finished bumper to bumper and then didn't win. And you did win, so good on you, brother.
Hey, thanks.
But it's an amazing race, so I hope it keeps going on for years and years.
Me too.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Didn't Vassar? Weren't you guys out kind of late the night before?
I tried to
heard-
drink him under the table.
which you failed.
Super fail. Everybody.
He owns a winery.
So
Yeah, right?
At the time, I was working with PT Paul Tracy on Supercars Exposed,
yeah.
the Battle of the Supercars, and I told him, I was like, "Oh yeah, I got Vassar here. We're going through Jack and Cokes like crazy," and he's like, "That's a bad idea." You know that he's not feeling any of it. And I was like, "I don't know. I think it's working." And 0. Like we're first thing in the morning. he's-
Positivity.
Yeah, right. So I'm looking on the bright side. Yeah, he
So
was
hungover, they go for qualifying. Vassar goes out, lays one lap down, pulls it back in. He's like, "I'm good." Still had the pole.
Yeah. Of course.
Puts
yeah.
it, lays down
He's
one
like,
heater.
I
and
race
parks
champ
it.
car.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a big. I raced with Lil Al this year, and Lil Al, I swear he didn't break a sweat, because when you're the king of the beach, he's won there 6 times at IndyCar. Guess what? Just slow him down. It's not like the line is different for him. Like
Right.
It's like slow motion. compared
yeah.
to stuff
I
he's
mean,
driven.
just
Yeah.
it couldn't have been easier. And it was amazing.
He's going to be my teammate in the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill this year
No
in that
way.
little Honda prototype.
Oh, dude, it's
Yeah.
gonna be so much
Yeah.
fun. He is such a good guy. The best thing that happened when it was 2 years ago. We said it was me, him, and Kyle Petty, and we said, hey, whoever wins, awesome. Let's meet right after the checkers, and let's go to this big place in the backstretch, and we'll do donuts. And he's like, okay. He and Kyle were neck and neck the whole time. I was with them for the first 2 laps, and they drove through like they had never met any of the other people we were racing with. And I know we've got to have dinner
Couldn't care
with them.
less. Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna put this famous actor into the wall just to follow you guys. I'll just catch up, right? I was delusional, and that's the difference between me and a real race car driver. Is that I was like, oh, I'll totally catch back
That's
up. with them.
fine.
You're
Yeah.
not. They're gone. They are checked out. I don't see them again until the end of the race. But the last corner, they're going around it, and Kyle just stuffs it in Al's door, and they are laughing.
Of course,
When
yeah.
you watch IndyCar, just 2 old men just laughing at each other as they both go down to the start-finish. Al wins. We finish. We meet over there. We do these huge donuts, and that's how the video coverage ends, right? And so Al goes to Victory Lane, does his pictures. We go back to the little compound, and Al comes over with this huge smile on his face and runs up to Kyle and I. He's like, I have never done donuts after winning anything in my life. That's the coolest thing I've ever done. And we're like, we just did donuts in an FRS, and Al Unser Jr. is telling us
How
like,
cool it is.
yeah,
Right.
like okay. And even for Kyle, who we laugh at, like it's just his dad, but turns out the king is amazing. Like
Yeah.
trying to win 7 like that still for Kyle's like that was Al Jr.
Yeah,
like,
we're
this is
hanging
a
out with
dude
Lil
that
Al.
I've grown up
Yeah.
with. Like he was the me of IndyCar.
Right.
Like this is what a cool thing. Like
Yeah.
it's the best time, most fun I've ever had in a car. For sure is doing that pro celebrity race.
awesome.
Last year was my first time kind of seeing it live, and I was walking under the tunnel, which is kind of down the back straightaway from kind of like where our concession or
Yeah.
our hospitality was, kind of where your paddock was
Sure.
actually. And I'm walking back under, and this is in the race, and you come by, and your car looks like okay. And then the next 3 cars that come by all look like they hit a brick wall at like
Yes.
40 miles an hour, backed up and kept going.
Crab
like the nose
walking.
are all crammed in. I'm like, what happened? And you're just
brutal.
like gone. Like
I
going for it.
told the drag racer Antron Brown.
yeah.
I told Antron, hey,
I'm coming for you.
we can't. It doesn't matter what happens until that flag. So I'm with you. We'll do whatever. I'll stick with you. Stick with me. Lap 9, let's go for it. Because same thing, you can't win until you get at least relatively close. Like
Right.
it doesn't matter. And he didn't believe me. He did not trust me. And I saw we were passing the start-finish line. And sometimes you can see wrecks happening in slow motion. And it's happened to me each time in that race. And I just know enough of I've done enough stupid stuff in the car to know when to lift just a hair. And he really won the
that's
spot. And
right.
so I waved him around me. And Willie Galt, NFL player, is going into turn 1. And, turn 1 is a bitch. If you miss that braking zone wrong, there's just tires, or you're going to keep going by that tow truck.
Yeah.
And
It's
Willie
bumpy.
Galt, I don't think he hit the brakes until the 100-foot mark. And so at that point, it's really just how much smoke are you going to make
Right before you
hit
smash
the
into
tires.
something.
So he rails the tires. Antron is pulled around me at this point, and I'm seeing it, so I'm starting to slow up. The recoil on Willie's car is so bad, he hits 2 other cars going
Bouncing
backward.
back out,
One
yeah.
of them he crabs cases the lower control arm in the back, so that car is now crab walking. The other car is Antron, he just wasn't paying attention. He was watching the braking, not like seeing this entire shit storm happening. So because he didn't believe me and say we couldn't win, he stuffs it into him. Hood is up
Yeah.
to the windshield,
Right.
smoke going everywhere, and he doesn't stop.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
So I'm now trying to dodge all of them, and I'm next to him, and all I can think to do is hit the horn, like that's gonna do anything. It's like, dude, I'm still here. Just let me go, because 2 FRSs, one that's smoking, and the hood is up to the windshield, going towards the fountain turn, moves at the same speed as mine, which has hit nothing.
Right, you're all
so
good.
I'm just like, come on, dude, don't put me in the fountain. You can't even see.
That's
it was
funny.
just
So, 30 seconds later, I'm eating an ice cream, walking under the bridge, and I'm like, oh, cool, Rutledge. What? What happened? Like, everybody's all smashed
what happened to
up.
everyone else?
A quick glimpse into the origins of that series. There's a video on iTunes. It's called Once Upon a Wheel, and it's Paul Newman narrates it. It's super old school. It's from the late 70s, and in part of the story, it's only about a 30-minute little short film. They do celebrity race. It's in 914s. It's out at California Speedway. Governor Reagan is officiating it and everything. It's really cool. It's one of the first celebrity races that has carried on all the way this time until now. So it's pretty cool.
Once Upon a Wheel?
Once Upon a Wheel.
That's cool. Definitely look that up.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Obscure Videos with Tanner Foust.
Yeah.
One time.
You know, it takes 3 roofies to get this one to fall down.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
This third one's kicking in right now, I think.
Took a dart in the neck, man. You have something else. I can
You know
tell
what,
you.
now
something.
you have to ask a question.
Oh, great.
So tomorrow we're meeting up with Marshall Pruitt, who's
Yeah.
one of the most well-known journalists in sports car racing and IndyCar, as well as other forms of motorsports. Writes for Racer Magazine, Car and Driver, or Road and Track.
Yeah.
Also has a beard.
Also has a great beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a team manager when I did 25-hour of Thunderhill
Yeah.
in a turbocharged Scion.
Who'd
Oh,
you drive
that was
for?
fun.
For him.
What was the team name? Did you drive with a guy named Don Gardner? Or Dan Don?
Dan Don.
Maybe. Was he one of the drivers?
Probably.
It was. I remember it was.
Short, bald guy knew
God,
more
I'm
than you.
so terrible with names.
I know. I'm
This was the
already
long-
excited watching you try to come up with these names.
This was a long time ago, but Varsha, his son.
Yeah,
Matt
yeah. We
was-
actually interviewed Bob.
Okay,
cool.
so
Yeah.
Bob's son
God,
was
he's
one
got
of them.
great hair, doesn't he?
It came up.
He
Yeah.
was sponsored by Molecule.
Yeah, Matt
Yep,
Barsha.
yep,
Yeah.
Matt Barsha.
And then I don't remember the other guys.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't Dan Don then.
Doesn't sound right. but-
Bob's still in Atlanta?
Yep,
Yep.
they're actually thinking about moving. You can
Yeah.
listen to it
If
on
you
our
listen
podcast.
to
I
it.
will.
Yeah.
Where's he going to move?
What do you say? Charleston was an
Yeah,
option.
there's a few things discussed.
Yeah.
Charleston sounded very likely.
It's nice. I tried to get Tanner to move. It's
To
not going to work. To
where?
Atlanta. I don't know. It's not going to work. He
Nice,
loves
we
our
have a good,
town.
We have a good time here.
Because you're in
We're
Orange
there.
County, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, not far from here. Hour and a half.
So Marshall Pruitt, we're going to be having lunch or something with him tomorrow. Anything you could think to ask him?
I'd like to know how he conditions his beard, because Rhett's pretty big on beard conditioning.
Feel this. Feel this. I put a little. Ow! What's your problem, man?
He immediately started
No.
smelling it.
How many did you get? How many hairs is
Odd
that?
or even? No.
I play this game with my dad. You're gonna just whatever I say. You're gonna say it's the opposite.
So we're
full more.
sprinkling the hair out on the pizza box.
Yeah, who wants some pizza?
I put some conditioner in earlier.
You
I got a new
you
conditioner.
always make me smell your beard hair.
Yeah, well-
I don't get what that's
Hey,
about.
don't know if you guys have plugs. mybeardandcompany.com. Lovely people. Beard and Co. It's his husband and wife. And our
happened?
our
You think
makeup
I'm
lady
kidding
on
about
NBC,
that? No.
Our makeup lady on NBC said, "Hey, you got to check these people out." And I was like, "I don't know. I just use conditioner. Like, keep it real." I looked on there. They had all these great oils and stuff, and so I've been using it, and it's delightful. So that's why I will often ask you to smell my beard, as I want to see if you can tell. Like, today I use there's one that's like Arctic mint, but it just smells minty. I don't know.
Not Arctic-y.
Not really. I
No,
don't know
just
what
minty.
Arctic smells like. It's cold, I would guess. We've been to Iceland.
Fresh.
It was cold there. We had squid ink pasta in Iceland.
I'm sorry.
You got to come up with a question for Marshall.
Okay, I would
Yeah.
want to know what has been his favorite. If he had to name one race that was his favorite race of all time, that he was able to watch or enjoy or talk about, what was it and where? And it doesn't have to be big. Like, hell, it could have been Newman winning at Lime Rock. It could be anything. But do you see that? I assume you guys saw the
Driven or whatever.
the
Not
documentary
Driven,
that Corolla put together.
Yeah.
Wasn't that awesome?
Winning or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
very
great.
good.
Fantastic. Made me want to race a Datsun 510 even more than I already do.
Right.
Which is why I have one if you need one.
I got to spend
Oh.
a weekend with Paul when I was about 11. He was racing Lotuses in what is at the time was Bridgestone Supercar, which is World Challenge now. And my dad was his team manager when he ran the
You're
Lotuses.
kidding.
So we drove a small truck and trailer from Atlanta to Connecticut and stayed at his house with his wife Joanne Woodward, and they bought me Legos. And
That's
I
awesome.
ate breakfast with them every morning, and we had a whole weekend of it. And I have on my wall at home, I have a original Le Mans, the movie Le Mans, movie poster that's framed, and then next to it is a Lotus Elan. Remember that car?
Yeah.
They had booklets that came in the glove compartment, and that was the car that was the hot sell at the time. And so he signed to Ryan, the hot kid on the block, Paul Newman, 93 or something, 92. And so I have his autograph.
That's
He
awesome.
doesn't give autographs.
That's the coolest thing
Yeah.
ever.
So I got Steve McQueen and then Paul Newman on the wall.
that should probably be in your racing bio.
I think it is actually.
Okay, it should be.
Yeah.
That
What,
sh-
you
it
didn't
should
read
be
it? You
right
didn't-
underneath
you didn't
race car
remember?
driver, and then it should be that amazing
Got
story.
to play
Holy
with Legos.
cow.
Yeah. So yeah, I was really excited to see that.
Saw a nice
That
documentary
documentary.
about Legos on the plane on Delta on the way out here.
Is it like Brickland or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Should watch
Did you
that.
see the Lego movie?
Did I see the Lego movie? My life, I basically wake up singing "Everything is awesome."
Everything
hear
is
you,
great
man.
when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome.
Go sports! Yay! That's me. So that is so much me. Go sports team.
All right.
I would want to know but also here's the other thing I would want to know.
Anything else?
If he could have been in any race ever, like separate from that, if he could pick one racing series that he could have had a legitimate shot. Like, I remember my second, third year working in NASCAR, I said publicly, if someone would pay for me to be in an ARCA car for a year and give me a shot at this, I will walk away. If it doesn't work out, you won't ever have to see me again. I won't show up on TV. I'll just go disappear because I loved watching it so much. And then I realized, one dude out there might be like, okay,
Yeah. Right.
here's a
Let's-
check.
Yeah. Let's sign his death wish for
Yeah,
him.
if you can make it out of ARCA alive, you'll escape with your life.
Not everybody does.
Do you have a question for him?
I wanted to know about the beard
Yeah, that's
conditioner.
in
I
there.
didn't know if that was a big
Yeah.
thing.
No, I got it. It's in
Us
there.
You
bearded
wasted your
guys.
question.
I mean, I want to know if I ever decide to grow. Because I
I also told Tanner he had to shave his 15-year-old mustache this morning before we went to work. I was like, Is that a thing?
Are you
growing
or
that?
are you just being lazy?
Yeah, what is that?
We had lunch with Patrick Long, the factory Porsche driver, the other
Yeah.
day, and he lives in Venice. or
Venice
whatever.
area, yeah.
And he's a Porsche factory guy, so he's very straight laced and
Sure.
buttoned down and everything. But because we went to the Deus Ex Machina shop, which is like a cafe racer
Oh, cool.
coffee shop, and it's just badass. He's got his SoCal outfit on. And he has a little ginger mustache that's like a day growth.
Yeah.
And we're both like, that's the first thing I said.
Just
I'm like, so
sad.
let's talk about it. What's up with that mustache? Like, is that a thing?
Right?
He's like, what are you talking about?
like I can see when you whistle. So it gets thicker. It's like the hairs align a little tighter, and then all of a sudden it's dark.
How does it work?
Yeah. See that? Yeah,
Really good.
it's a thing.
This has been delightful.
We seriously appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you had a long day. That's why I was so much like, hey, if you can't do it, don't worry about it.
If
But-
this part makes it in, for people that don't know and you're just listening, it's just 4 dudes sitting on a patio at a hotel talking for 6 hours, and it's going to be 12 minutes when you're all done.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to work this down to 12 minutes somehow.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe an
that's
hour. Do you have a name for this?
Dinner with Racers.
Oh, this is. You know what? Then here.
You
I
didn't
don't-
even eat.
You don't have to eat the pizza.
That's
No,
good. You don't have
It's
to have
your
any.
beard hair
It's-
that's on it.
Yeah,
but-
about to say.
No, it's over here. You're
Here.
safe.
Have a bite of that. I don't
Oh,
want to
this
be
is-
disingenuous.
this
I don't
is
want to
just
be
too
liars.
adorable.
Just have a. Oh, no!
that's-
Don't put the pizza in the microphone.
makes good radio.
genius. That's better. Are you gonna finish that?
That's where the beard hairs went.
Whoa,
That's where the beard hair.
that's cold. We've been out here for a little while.
I said, Tanner, we just want to come hang with me. It's only gonna take a few minutes. Just gonna hang out with some friends. Okay, sure.
Well, the first thing
Cut
Sean
to-
said is like, Tanner looks tired. Like he's probably not gonna want to do this. And I was like, I wonder.
Cut
if
to 10:30 at night. Yeah.
Rutledge just doesn't want to be alone with us. So he's like, dude, you gotta help me out here.
I just like hearing stories. And,
Awesome.
Not
Boys,
as far
thanks-
as you know. That's not how it
hey,
went down.
thanks for having this.
Yeah,
No.
thank you guys.
Our pleasure. Thanks a lot for coming.
I'm damn glad to know you. I believe in Orange.
I appreciate that.
Much love to Continental because that's who we get to use on the show.
Yeah.
And so anytime we're off road, we're running Generals, running Continentals on the street stuff. They're great people. And most importantly, they love you.
They do. It's weird.
And I do as well.
Is Pierre on the team?
Don't try to
Kleinebing?
get real. I was just trying to be sweet.
Sorry,
We were
I know
having
you're
a
rapping.
moment.
Now
I
you're
know
gonna
you're
get jumping
rapping.
to
we were
real
having
stuff.
a moment.
Yeah.
It's gone.
What a dick.
No, not. That's a no.
No, I'm basically.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Anyway, awesome pizza.
I'm kind of the new Pierre.
That's good timing, folks.
Say hi to PD for me.
I will. I definitely will.
Thank you.
And we're out.
Continental's got the check.
I'm finished.
And that is what an evening with Tanner Foust, Ryan Eversley, and Rutledge Wood is like. Hope you enjoyed, and glad the rat didn't get us. One quick personal note, when this whole thing was over, anyone who knows me knows I'm not known for being the most affectionate guy, and Rutledge Wood comes over, and he's like, Sean, give me a hug, I'm a hugger. And I gotta say, it was a nice hug. So continuing our tradition of introducing a few bands that we're all fans of, we're going to present to you another friend of mine, Paul Lax, and his group, Icy Hawks in LA. Icy Hawks have been around for actually a long time. If you look them up on iTunes, it is the words ICSEE, Hawks in LA. Very cool mix of sort of country and bluegrass and rock and a few other styles. And this is one of my favorite songs that they put out called Wonder Valley. Enjoy.
I like rocks and rock gardens. I like to watch materials harden. Well, the desk clerk at the Motel 6, just past the Marine base, he said this is a nice little region, but stay away from Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley. It's the land where a man can take a stand. Wonder Valley. You don't need a delouser, better bring the douser to Wonder Valley. Groove the land, take a stand in Wonder Valley. Watch the sunset change the shadows, watch the food thieves swinging from the gallows. Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley. Well, the desk clerk at the Motel 6 said he was looking for a 1966 Ford Fairlane. I said, come on down to LA. He said, oh no, they just want to trick you, then they'll roll you. Well, I stayed up all night, watched the sun come up. All I wanted to do was drink a beer and have a cup of coffee. they could kill little Sally. Well, I walked through the town like Johnny Cash. Didn't have no trouble burning through my stash in Wonder Valley. Wonder Valley. The Marines fly their planes and the